Oh, hi. I am so sorry about being late and I'm not ready. Now, I know what you think. I'm looking a bit pumped there, aren't I? Look at those fucking shoulders, man. Look at that. It's not that bit. It's that curve that you want. Look at that. Look. See that curve? The other side, though. But if I point to it, I'll lose it. Look at the curve against the blue. I'm curving. Look at me, Mum. I'm curving. Anyone else curving? That's not why I'm late. It's a bit of why I'm late, but let me just find this clip. I've got a load of clips, but it's a very different show. I can't even speak. It's a very different show. I'm making this standalone video. Oh, by the way, people, that is working a treat. Loads of new subscribers. Couldn't believe it. YouTube algorithm is kind of on side. Really got about 60 new subscribers last month. For me, that's ridiculous. I just don't get any. I don't get new subscribers. I think 58 was the number. 58. Now, that would have been more than that because a few people would have dropped out as well. So, you know, let's say it was 68 and 10 left. Amazing. Standalone videos, the Dragon's Den videos, a couple of other things. This video I'm making about passion, just on the off chance that Horace is watching, I'm actually making it about the French word jouissance. But I'll have to explain for some of you, not all, and not because you're stupid, but because you weren't taught it. I'll have to explain and teach you about jouissance. And then we'll get into passion. And then we get into romance. And I'm not talking about birding off here. I'm talking about living life as a romantic endeavor. That life is romantic. Let me tell you why it's romantic. Because you're going to die. That's happening. There's no getting out of that. It's over. It's already over, Mark. Nah. I'm just stupid. Your life's already finished. It's like you've bought a machine. You've bought a machine, but it's programmed to kaput at a certain time in the future. That's you. Now, the beauty of that, and this is why I wouldn't want to live forever. Who wants to live forever? Not me. Because if you live forever, you're going to get everything done. And nothing has value. You know what? If you lived forever, if you had absolute immortality and infinity, you know what the most valuable thing would be? Death. So spin that logic on its head. If you aren't going to live forever and you haven't got infinity, what's the most important thing? Life. And that's where the romance comes in. Because every relationship you have, you know, friends, partners, one night stand, bloke in the shop, whatever, anything that develops, anything that engages you is not only temporary, but it creates ripples. There is a permanence to everything you do. You know, a lot of philosophy looks for these kinds of these overarching ideas where they can just sum everything up. And in fairness, like I tend to look a lot at language because most things as humans are filtered through the form of language. Whether that's someone dancing, you know, that's language. You look at the signs, you work out what they mean in the context of viewing them. If a bloke going like this in a gym, well, that means something very different to a bloke coming up to you in the street and going like this, you know, so it's a language. However, the world is never like that. The world, whatever that means, is the product, is like the fruit of a billion tiny little interactions of all humans at every point at the same time. Everything we do is part of the future. And if you can make if you can make your engagements with the world better than they were yesterday and better tomorrow than they were today, if you can make them more significant, if you can make them more, if you can live your life with more passion, then you're going to reap the rewards of that. You're going to make that life, that valuable moment, that valuable, mortal, precious moment more worthwhile. And if you make that more worthwhile, all the shit and all the struggles and all the heartache and all the hassle, not only are they worth it, but fuck it, you'll take them all day long, because what you get, the positives, they don't outweigh the negatives. It's a different world. Living your life with passion and a romantic vart. Terrible timing. Well, the problem is I'm kind of telling you my video I'm making about all this. However, the reason I told you all that, I am making this standalone video about jouissance, about passion, about romantic engagement. But because of that, I'm trying to get loads of clips and footage and what have you. And, you know, a lot of you have read my writing. A lot of you have heard me talk. I am prone to a little bit of tangentialism. And so when I go to look for something on the tubes, I might go there and then there and then there. And so this sort of matrix of jouissance that I'm engaging with is providing me with so much stuff that I want to share with you. It's ridiculous. Now, that might all sound a little bit like a nonsense when you actually see the clips, but I think it will make sense. However, I haven't... Hang on. Burp, pause. Hang on. Sorry, I hoofed down a half a litre of natural yogurt before the start. I nearly said before the Hello, Bourbon Decay. Have you changed your diet to put on some pounds? You look miles better. Go on, son. Mate, I can't show you, can I? Because, hang on, let me see if my phone light will... No. That was so weird. I want to talk to you about... Hang on, let me disguise my other hand. People, it is time for the glorious House of Scrubs to finally seize the power. It's just I will kill you. God, that's hurting my eyes. Anyone else still see that there? Anyone else having an ingrain? Anyone else an ingrate? Where were we? Mate, I've been on the weights and I have changed my diet. Yeah, I'm trying to drop out as many, what would you call them? I'm trying to up my carbs to complex carbs, and it's steak and eggs. Steak, eggs, tuna. Protein and lifting weights. The answer is yes. That's very kind of you to notice. A lot of the ladies have too. Hello, Glenn. Big game tomorrow. No, you ain't, Marzipan. You put on that act, but we know that's... A man doesn't travel the world doing the work you done, being a bit slow. A man travels the world doing the work you done by pretending to be a bit slow and absolutely smashing it. And the only reason you stopped, my guess, is because you've done the right thing and looked after your family. I mean, there's a big bit in there that I don't know about that I'm putting an assumption in, but I think I know you well enough to know you're a good lad. And there might have been a few drug problems, but no one's perfect. Right. Thank you for the donations. We had a couple of early ones in. Let me just say thank you to these. Cheers, Andy. Much appreciated, mate. No one ever has to apologise for not or how small it is. Honestly, you've just given me money. It's incredible. Really appreciated. Nice one, RP. Early Greece. Got to keep those cogs rolling, son. Thank you, Raymond. Thank you, JP. Joined in on the pre-stream Varts. Good Lord. I'm sure I'll get some LOs in later, but I just wanted to let you know this is going to be quite a different stream. I've got some very interesting and, well, just, some of them, this is Planet X, Avid Grifter. Thank you, mate. Very generous, very generous. Some of these clips are very funny. I'm not saying this is going to be a stream of like us discussing jouissance and delimiting the limits of our linguistic enclosure. It ain't. I've got Steven Seagal doing stupid things, so get it into it. But I just want to get the right bit of this clip. Oh, and I've forgotten what the other one was. Just give us a couple of seconds, because it's really. There, I've got it. Gotcha. There you go. Hang on. I did. Right, there you go. That'll do. Right, so I've got that, and there was one more. Dang. Maybe I'll remember it in a minute. But one other thing I want to say, just before we goes without saying, man, goes without saying. I don't know if you're talking to me, Ian, but if you are, it goes without saying. The other thing is, when you come back from the socio-political, again, matrix of the earth, it's swinging to the right. Even Europe is swinging to the right. We've all said a few things. People need to wake up. Then we realised they were awake, but then it was like, well, people need to start doing something. And then it was like, well, people need to blah, 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 blah. And we also said it's going to get worse before it gets better. It got worse. We also said, but it will get better. We also said, but the pendulum will swing the other way. I'm saying this right now. That's where we are now. It's happening. It's happening. I think it's kind of taken this the Democrats to show the world what the liberal communist project actually does to a nation, and in what a space of time. I think I've got to be really careful, but the whole Russia-Europe thing, I mean, having grown up in the Cold War, this lukewarm fucking pantomime, the fact that I can't even discuss this in using the words and the things I'd like to say, but essentially, RT, Russia Today, that's gone. That's been taken off the air. There certain platforms you're not allowed to say certain things on certain platforms. You've got to toe the party line. Information like that is filtered, that's propaganda. That's outright how propaganda works. Filtered news presented as fact. When you don't get the whole story, you get a partial story presented as truth. Well, that's not how the truth works. There's not two sides to every story. There's a story. And a story is a sphere. It's an infinite amount of size, depending on where you're looking at it and how you're looking at it. Objects of analysis change by how you analyze them, where you analyze them, how you analyze them in context with what. History is not an easy beast. And propaganda tries to make it so. Propaganda tries, we've all read the novels. We all know that, 2 and 2 does not equal 5. But if they tell you enough times and threaten other parts of your life and distract you with this and this and this and this, you can't pay this, you can't eat, you can't keep yourself warm. Well, I can't really be worried about politics. That ain't working anymore. It ain't working. I've said it on this channel countless times. The internet was just in time. And that's almost a historical materialist kind of, it's almost like culture had, like Marx said this about capitalism, but weirdly, as Adorno and Horkheimer said, the culture industry, which isn't culture, sorry to confuse, the culture industry had within itself, because it's set off from an unresolved dialectic, an unresolved contradiction, it always had within itself the seeds of its own destruction. And I think the internet is that dialectic seeking to resolve itself, because If the internet was invented tomorrow, too late. We would be in I would suggest we'd be in a leftard, global, authoritarian hellhole. And let's face it, we ain't far from that. It ain't a long way off. They had a good try. Say what you want about the left, but they get shit done. They're evil bastards without a doubt. But the internet came about just at the right time. Like I say, it's almost a spiritual moment. If you don't believe in God, it gets hard not to when you think, well, hang on, take that out of the equation. It's just flattened. It's apocalyptic. But it came about just at the right time, because otherwise, right now, I reckon we'd be like North Korea. We'd all be wearing our silly little Chairman Mao. We'd all be wearing our silly little Chairman Mao suits, walking around. We've got kids grassing on their parents. We've got people grassing on their neighbours. My neighbour doesn't wear a mask inside. We've got people beating people up in the street for things they believe, things they've said, not for things they've done, for things they've said. Free speech is finished. I mean, no one believes in free speech, and that isn't a thing, is it? There's no such thing. People are terrified of saying things. Look at that. Already terrified. So it was a close call, but I am telling you, when it certainly has amplified their message, but it's amplified the opposition as well. What? And the truth will out, because the opposition to the left is nature. People on the right, whatever you want to call them, conservative, dissident rightists, populists, nationalists, they're agents of nature. Agents of nature. RP, the circle of strife. I'm going to enjoy the last days. Your last days, you mean? Of course, why not? They're the best days. They're the only ones you've got left. Get in there, son. And it's not always about happiness. Happiness, this is part of this. The idea of happiness is also part of the liberal plan. Happiness is like a cake. It's something that comes into your life occasionally and you enjoy it, but that's not our default position. Look at Brave New World. What, you ain't happy? Take some drugs. Yeah, I'm not feeling too good. Have some Soma. I had some. Have some more. It's just not working. Have you had sex with anyone? There's some really nice pneumatic. Huxley described the hot birds in Brave New World, manufactured like all the classes are in Brave New World, pneumatic. Have you seen Kim Kardashian? Pneumatic. It's incredible, isn't it? Out of those two dystopian novels, I mean, don't get me wrong, 1984, bosh. But it's a dreary, dull place, isn't it? It's essentially based on the crumbling of the Soviet experiment in sort of 1950s, Soviet Union. But Brave New World, everything's lovely. Everything, hey, positive. I found a Google channel. Let's have a quick look at it. I'm ruining stuff for my fucking passion video. I'll save it. Google have got a YouTube channel, 10 million subscribers. Mate, you've never seen a place that's so airy-fairy. It's just for children. It's like, hang on, whoa, are you talking to me? Or who's this for? Like 4-year-old kids with learning difficulties. I don't get it. It's amazing, because their world, in their world, everything's great. Everything's great. It's just everything can be sorted out if people just weren't so nasty. If people weren't so racist, homophobic, sexist, misogynist, everything would be all right. Them and their hierarchies. Oh, you want to go down that road? If only we were all the same. Well, there's a problem there, love, because unless you're going to elevate us all to the people at the top, the only option is to bring us all down to the lowest common denominator. And I think that's what you're looking at. Terrifying stuff. Absolutely terrifying. Anyway, another complete nerd turd. I call it a nerd turd as of 1 second ago. If ever I do a nerd turd, a distraction, a nerd turd. Hello, Lumi. Good to see you. Right. Paddy Burns said 1984 is what Orwell thought the UK would be in 1984. I don't think he did. I think he wrote it in 1948 and he just turned the words round. But, you know, that's fair enough. Not the words, the numbers. Don't trust me when I get it completely wrong. Right. Yeah, hello, Yendor. Yeah, so that's where I was, actually. Happiness is like a cake. That's not our default setting. The liberals want you to live in that airy, fairy, 5 years old, you know, permanent birthday kind of. Life's not like that. Life's a struggle. Life's about responsibilities. Life's about responsibilities to other. Life's about responsibilities to your community, to your family, to your manufacturing, to your creating culture, to do your part in the mass as best as possible. Happiness is the occasional treat, and yet we're sold this idea that you should be happy. I mean, it's like a threat. In the early 21st century, being happy is like a threat. Wait, can't be happy. Why aren't you happy? And if you're not happy, and if you're really not happy, you can go to the doctor and he'll drug you up. That's not fiction anymore. That's not Brave New World. That's the NHS. You could listen, get that critical distance. Forget about, oh yeah, I get it, Prozac. Oh yeah, I get it, SSRIs. I get it, anti-anxiety. I get all that, yeah. We know mental illness is a lie. Cool, of course, you know, good for fuck's sake. How can the mind be ill? It doesn't. So, but step away from all that's been repeated and repeated. That story of treating your deficiencies. You're not happy enough. That's a fucking deficiency. This is DSM 101. So you can literally go to the doctor and go, very anxious. In a decent society, in a compassionate society, you'd ask them why they're anxious. What's causing you anxiety? And it might be nothing. It might just be life. So it's not life that's causing the problems. It's the way they're responding to it. So, okay, so what's the problem? So you haven't got enough support. You haven't got enough of a group around you. You haven't got a community. We need to look at that. That's where the money needs to be spent. But no. You're anxious, are you? Okay, let me just open my DSM-5. As he opens it, oh, little mini angel starts like flying out of it. It glows. Oh, okay. Right, I'm going to ask you 10 questions. When you're in a room full of people, do you feel alone? Like everyone does. Yeah. When you were younger, did you think you were special? Like everyone did. Yeah. Etc. Do you find tense situations uncomfortable? What tense situations? I mean, is an apple an apple? Yeah. Do you find conflict uncomfortable? Oh no, I love it. No, I love conflict. No, you can, don't tick that one, because who doesn't like conflict? When I wake up in the morning and the postman comes round, I don't want him to drop a letter through the letterbox. I want him to knock on the door and go, "Oi, cunt, you've been looking at me, you've been looking at my wife, eh? Hey, I see what you said on the internet. What, you got no bottle? Come on. I love conflict. These are the questions that are asked in the diagnostic manual of psychiatry. Seriously, this is how they diagnose mental illnesses. Do you find conflict uncomfortable? Fucking hope so. I fucking hope so. Because if you don't, you're not prepared for it. You're meant to find conflict uncomfortable. Because then your adrenaline starts pumping and you start sharpening your senses. And then you start becoming aware. Is this going to kick off? Where's the exits? Who am I protecting? I've got my missus with me. Right, what shoes has she got? And darling, take those heels off a minute. Just do it. Right, what else? Bosh. Yeah, I am uncomfortable, thankfully. Have you got any drugs to make me more uncomfortable during situations of conflict? Anyway, you get through that. 7 of them, 7 out of 10. Yeah, you've got anxiety what will they call that one? Something like what's the one? Hang on. You've got public anxiety syndrome. I knew there was something wrong with me. Yeah, it's a well-known disease. Oh, it's a disease. What is it, like a virus or something? I mean, is this something that you can cut out of me? Well, you know, when I say disease, I mean a syndrome. Oh, what, like Down syndrome? There's a genetic. There's something. Something went wrong genetically. Well, no. When I say syndrome, I sort of mean like a it's like a dyssyndromes. Look, you've got it, all right. Okay. So how are we going to treat that? Doctor gets paid for writing scripts. Don't forget that. If a customer, and that was nearly a Freudian slip, but I'm going to use it. If a customer goes to the doctor and leaves that room without the doctor writing him a script, sorry, that's such druggy talk. A prescription, he doesn't make any money. So he sits there. He's a human. He's not God. He's a human. He might have a gambling problem. He might have a prostitution problem. He might be skint. He might want a better motor. So when that customer comes in with I'll get all terribly anxious when I'm at the supermarket. Well, that's not a surprise because supermarkets spend billions every year trying to change the way you think so that you buy stuff you don't need. Do you understand why that might make you feel anxious? The lighting, the music, the layout, the fucking trolley, every single part. The people who run the supermarkets have spent so much money getting very clever psychologists and psychoanalysts involved in their marketing to make it so that when you go in the supermarket to buy some apples, cauliflower and milk, you come out with some apples, cauliflower, milk, avocado anal spray, fucking blackhead exhauster, and some kind of booked holiday or something. You are in an environment where they are getting into your head and making you do things you don't want to do. That will make you anxious. Yeah. And they also spend billions on making you not realize that. So you're also in a state of dissonance. You're sort of in there going, nah. Oh, what? This is a new wine, is it? What? It's on sale. Hurry, limited stock. But I don't drink. But my mum likes a bit of red. I ain't got the money. Get it on credit. Fill in this form and get. Yeah, if you went to a supermarket and didn't feel anxious, then go to the doctor. So you've got this whole fucking fairground called culture that involves the psychiatrists, the marketeers, everyone's involved in it. They don't sit around together and plan it. They don't need to. But you are part of that. It's a shocker. Now I need a piss. I'll be driving though because I've got a new chair. See you in a minute. Hi. Okay. So there was that one more clip that I wanted to get. I know where I'm ending. So where are we going? I think there might have been a donation come through during that or two. Let me have a look. If I have missed a donation, hello Paddy, nice to see you, mate. But my point is, the world is moving away from it. The world is moving to the right, and at a rapid pace. And the midterms, because America is essentially at the center of the political cyclone, will be the start of that. Not start of it, but it will be the what would you call it? It will be a symbol of nah, we've had enough of this bullshit. Not buying it anymore. Nice one, Vincent. I am not the real golden Buddha. There you go. A bit of Rene Marguerite from Vincent Griffin. Nice one, son. Where are we going? I found a wicked bit of David Foster Wallace. I'm going to end the stream on. It's someone's put together a nice little few minutes of him talking. I see the oars are in. Always a pleasure. Right, here we go. Thank you, Void. What a lovely thing to say. It only takes one person. I think I'll clip that. Very nice. Yendor says piss donations. I can read that from so many different angles. Right, let's have a look. Right, so this is a chill stream. That just happened to be half hour of me. I'm on the back of this passion and romance. And what a time to be alive when the liberal project is on its arse. It absolutely is on its arse. And look at Italy. I mean, Sweden, largely symbolic at this stage, but still symbolic, better than nothing. The midterms will be the one in line with Italy. Watch France and England start going, when Italy they're going to make it hard for them, but that won't matter. It's hard for them anyway. And then the midterms. Yeehaw! Right, so where are we going to go? What way round am I going to show you this? Steven Seagal. What a massive jump. Don't forget, my channel is sponsored by my Stubber. Shut up. My channel is sponsored by my own Substack channel. I'm a writer. Top link in the description. There's 21 short stories that I wrote over the last year in there. If you sign up, all you got to do is put your email in and press send. It's free, totally free. Every time I write a new one, it will get sent to your email. Not loads of spam, just my new stories. About one every month or 2 months. Got a novel coming out in November. That time's cutting down a bit quickly. And there's a couple of teasers of the novel on my Substack. And if you don't like reading, definitely go and have a look, because I don't write for readers. I do, but I don't write like that. Okay? People on my Substack have likened me to Bukowski, Hunter S. Thompson, William Burroughs, David Foster Wallace, Mikhail Welbeck, my favourite 5 writers. So I've either been rumbled, I'm very good at mimicry, I'm a great writer, all 3, or just the first 2. Shut up. Right. Steven Seagal, we know the man is fraud's the wrong word, because he doesn't pretend to be good at anything. He just does them. And I think I have to give him a little bit of credit for that. A fraud is something quite different. But Seagal just says, I'm doing this now because I'm that. All right. But I thought I'd seen it all. I thought I'd seen it all when he pretended to be a real copper on some American show where he just hooked up with some local old Bill crew and just started turning up at people's houses with a shooter. No shit. Imagine you're there, like mid to low level weed dealer, like you've got half a key in your kitchen or something. bifters on the go. You know, you're making about $400 a week. Door comes off the hinges. Shit. Trying to throw everything down the sink. Seagal. Hey, Buster, you better stop moving, because I'm here and I ain't got time for your bullshit. You'll be like, what the fuck? Hang on a minute. Is that Seagal? Are we being busted by Steven Seagal? And all the other coppers are like, oh, no, not this again. I guarantee that happened because, you know, if you're busted, you're busted. If you're busted for growing weed, you ain't, you know, it's done. Job's done. They're in. You can't get that. Well, that was why I always had the fear growing weed, especially when we had the only roof on that terrace in Leeds. When in the winter everyone else had snow, we had this big circle of no snow. Now, if the gathers come in, you're just like, it's a fair cop. Yeah, well, I'm nicked. But if it's Seagal, you're stoned, you're literally going, no way, can I have a selfie? Seagal with a gun to your head. You're like, nicked by Seagal. Now, I thought I'd seen, like I say, I thought I'd seen the best and the worst of Seagal. Now, some of you might have seen this. It's available on YouTube, but somehow it's managed to evade my plot radar, essentially. Seagal done a dancehall song. Steven Seagal done a dancehall song, and it's called. Let me get it right. It's called something like "Me Want Your Poonie." Hang on. Let me just get this right. Yeah, Him Want That Punani. It's called Him Want That Punani. And there's a lyric in it, and I'm going to play it up until this lyric, and then I'll stop it because it will give you ear aids. But there's a lyric in it where he says, hang on, let's have a shot of rum, then I can make you come. And then it says, to the ocean, that would be fat. I suppose that's with a P. But it's not. The meter is stopped so that it says, let's have a glass of rum and then I'll make you come. Yeah. Now, this is featuring an actual dancehall artist, Lady Saw. So she's just going, like all dancehall acts do. Dancehall shit. I do quite like Bounty Killer, though. Because it's so excellently shit. But Seagal's just outright doing a Jamaican accent. He's doing a Sting. And I think we have to acknowledge that Sting of the Police, one of the world's most famous and much lauded and celebrated recording artists, did start his life singing like the black man. Me make a career where me sing like the black man, and no one said a word. I mean, that's black voice. I mean, if black face isn't allowed, is black voice allowed? Now, before I show you that, let me just find this other clip. Hang on. You know, like London, I was talking to this with Gail, you know, my ex-girlfriend from the Crack Diaries. All right, let me find this. Hang on. I'm going to show you two things. No, one thing first. Hang on. Right, here it is. So me and Gail's mixed race. Gail's dad's from Guyana. Not Ghana in Africa, Guyana in South America. But, and her aunties are like, yeah, you want to come around and eat the yam with me? Or you what, you see me cooking up so good or something? Okay, so that's weird. But me and her were talking about the new youthful London accent. We all know it. It's really unpleasant. You know, you see a white kid come along and he just sucks his teeth and you're like, what? And then I can't even do the accent. It's weird, isn't it? They just sort of go, no, what you saying, man? No, I smoke my weed. I do what I want, innit? And you're like, where did you get that from? That's got no history, that accent. Mumford he was on a train, right? He had a phone call. Mumford used to run, for people who don't know, Mumford's my best mate. I'm going out to see him in a couple of weeks if the super chats pick up a bit. Mumford was on a train going to see a band. His mate, Mumford used to have a rehearsal studio. So bands could come and there was amps and drum kits and soundproofing. So he got in with a load of younger people. And, you know, he's a very attractive bloke, Mumford. He's great fun. He's very eccentric. And he's a pain in the arse and a real cunt and doesn't show. I know you're watching, Paul, and shows absolutely no interest in anything anyone else is doing. But he's still my best mate. So they rung him up and said, do you want to come out and see this band? And he went, yeah, all right. You know, he's into music. He's a great musician. He's a fantastic musician. So they're on the train, all these white boys, Baldy's white. And one of these kids is like, sir, tell me, what's this band like tonight, mum? You know, I ain't got time for no fucking, what is it, like the Steps or something. And Mumford said to him, is that your real voice? And of course, everyone's sort of gone. And the kid's gone, what do you mean real voice? Fucking taught me like I got no. I can't even do the accent, right? But you know the one I mean. It's neither black or white. It's nothing. And this kid said, yeah. And so Mumford said to him, words to the effect of, so hang on, when you wake up in the morning and your mum puts your Weetabix on the table, you're like, I told you, I already done told you time, mum. I don't want sugar on my Bix, innit? And this kid was like, yeah. And then Mumford was like, hang on, so if you go for a job interview and they say, so Richard Hartley, so Big Daddy Hartley, what experience have you got in telecommunications and information technology? And you're like, yeah, I already done told you time. I play with my computer all day long, innit? Like sit on the ass and a woman and the pussy and I play the music and I play the game all day long, man. And this kid has said, yeah. He's gone, yeah, mum. That's just, he's white as a ghost, this fella. Then these three black school kids, right? So there's no like not like 3 6'2" rastas, just 3 school kids, like about 14, afros, black as the ace of spades. They walk through, and Mumford goes, "Why have you stopped talking?" And by this time, everyone in the carriage is cracking up at Paul, ripping the shit out of this geezer with his obviously contrived fucking MC Devo accent. And he's going, why have you stopped talking? And then Paul's turned around and went, oh, is it because there's some real black people here? And this kid's like, and he went, what's wrong? Is it okay. Oi! Now, on the back of that, I'm going to show you a clip. This is from 1969. I'm not going to say anything about it, right? When you watch this, where did this go? I'm not saying it should have stayed. This isn't a judgment on, I don't talk how you talk. You know, you make your choices, you suffer the consequences, positive and or negative and or neutral. But when we talk about assimilation, language is a very important tool when it comes to assimilation. You know, when we look at Windrush and that, when all the old black fellas I used to know in Bethnal Green, look at the names they had. Winston, Lloyd. You know, it's always sort of these old English names. And that was for a reason. They weren't things like Big Papa Penis and whatever. Have a look at this, 1969. I'm going to show you the image first, and I think you're going to get some cognitive dissonance. Because whatever happened to this? Here we go. Have a look at the image. So a young lad. Oh, let me just, sorry, people. Let's make sure we've got some audio. So he's a young lad. What are we guessing? 14, 15? Quite well turned out. Looks like a nice Fred Perry or something. So he's at a market stall, East London, I'm guessing. And this was in a piece on BBC called "Has England Embraced Exotic Food?" And there's other parts of it. They talk about yams and what is it? We call them ladies' fingers. Okra. Not really exotic, but wait till you hear this. Wait till you hear this. I'm going to mute myself.
They comes from West Africa, right? But they grow yam in that area. And they eat yam, grow bananas, okra, and things like that. You know, okra is a thing that you put in the dinner. You know, liven it up, something like that.
You didn't expect that, did you? You did not expect that at all, did you? Now, I can remember Bangladeshi and Indian kids in Dartford speaking like that. Indian kids. And it changed. And look, I haven't had the time or the energy or the risk to look into that. But that's political that changed. That comes from the elders. That I wouldn't be surprised. And it comes from culture as well. It comes from music. Why you talking like them white man? What, you slave on or something? No one, well, okay, someone expected it. Yeah, they absolutely did. That's what I'm saying, Skin. But rare these days. You still do get a couple, but it's very strange, very strange. Right, let's get back to Seagal, because Seagal's dance hall is legit. Now, obviously, he doesn't do much singing in this. He leaves most of it to the actual woman with a black dancehall accent. But fuck me, man. Unfortunately, I looked and looked to try and find some actual footage of him. So it's just a still from another album. I don't know if this song's on this album, but this is legitimately Steven Seagal's dancehall track. And listen for the line, I'll give you some rum and it will make you come. No, Les Ferdinand does sound white, but there's sounding white and there's having a distinct regional accent. That kid had a Cockney, at best, estuary accent. I think that's fair to say. So I'm with you, Martin, without a doubt. But regional is not so much. Les Ferdinand kind of has that sort of general, media. Very, very rare to get regional accents on telly unless they're characters from, a generation ago. Here we go. Check out No More Build Up. Here's Seagal. I'm only going to play it. I mean, feel free to put your fingers in your ears when it gets too much, which is literally after about the first 4 bars. Here we go. Seagal's dancehall.
Mr. Steven Seagal, fly down to Jamaica and say one of the baddest gal. So them send for Lady Stark, I don't know me raw. You see me? So
girl, would you really run down there?
me want the body if you make me feel nice. Why? Tell me what you really want all night.
Me want the bananas if you make me
Me
nice.
want the body, him want the punani. I mean know it nice. So
When the girls start to strut, you could look at their butt, you shouldn't do that. The girl dress is just as pretty, not just there to cover her kitty.
when me a fling it up, you better know fi back it up. When me a dash it up, make sure you black it up. If you ever flap it up, then me a go lock it up. Park it up like Benji hold up. So me want the body if you make me feel nice. Why? Tell me what you really want all night.
You want the bananas if you make me nice. Me love the way you walk, sometimes the way you talk is so hot. Now you know, let's have a shot of rum. Then me can make you come.
Now, let's, okay, it's awful. But that's all Sting done. Sting done that. Sting, no one called out Sting. I'm not saying they should have called him out. I'm not making a judgment, but Sting used to do an impression of a black man and then stopped doing it. That's the weirder bit. That because you've got like there's a geezer on one of the Arsenal. This is a great clip actually. There's a geezer on one of the Arsenal what do you call them, podcasts, right? Let me just get you. There you go. This is at the right time. Right, there's a geezer on one of the Arsenal podcasts, and his name is White Yardie. Now, White Yardie, I think he was born in England and moved to Jamaica when he was like 3 months old and stayed there till he was 18. Now, 18, they're influential years, aren't they? You know, but whatever you absorbed as you were oh, Packer, it's going to cost you more than £2 to make me listen to Seagal again. I've already had to listen to it 3 times to rack it up. Nice one, mate. I'll bear it in mind. It's an option. Yeah, well, that's the weird thing, Al, because actually she's pretty good, and he doesn't. You know, they probably said, don't give him too much airtime because every time he talks, it's kind of crap. UB40, another class. I tell you what, I was in a boozer in Chapeltown. If anyone knows Chapeltown in Leeds, it's a ghetto, right? It's an absolute ghetto. And I was in this boozer up there buying skag, and it was half black and half white. All the blacks up one side, all the whites up the other side, and all hard bastards as well. And I put on UB40. Come on, everyone. Yeah. Now, White Yardie lived in Jamaica for 18 years. I'm not accusing him of faking this or anything. I am suggesting he plays it up a bit, and why wouldn't he? But this is the sort of opposite of that black kid we just saw who obviously grew up in England. You know, that little black kid who spoke like a Cockney. But the weird thing about this one is, though, one of the other blokes on the podcast, hello, Bullet, I'll deal with that in a minute. Nice one, mate. One of the other blokes, and they're friends, these people. White Yardie wasn't on as a guest. He's a regular. But one of the other black fellas, he looks at him, and there's something about his expression where he's not quite, you know, he's having a bit of cognitive dissonance with this Snow White bloke. Well, I'll play you a bit. And again, no judgments. You know, you grow up in a different culture, you're going to absorb that culture if you want to. Obviously, you can not if you choose not to. Check out a bit of White Yardie. And have a look at the black fella to his right. No, to his left, but to our right. Yeah. So this is the opposite of what we just see with that little black fella. Here we go.
What, yeah? And you know what? This is why Southgate, to me, you have to go because you waited until you concede a goal to make the changes. You can see it's not working. Make the changes sooner and try something different. You wasted Saka because by taking him off now, you don't even have him to use in trying to use him as an attacker, which you should have done, I think, before.
I reckon that geezer on his left, the other geezer, the black geezer, I reckon, they're mates, by the way. This, like I said, it's not a random guess. But I don't think there's ever a time when he doesn't think, this certainly sounds peculiar. This is weird. I think that's a fair thing to say.
Before making that substitution, what you should do is put him in his natural position, tell him to swap, put him in his natural position, maybe move forward and more central, or even Sterling more central, and try them as a creative midfielder to get something out of the game. You didn't. You did it.
We got a good side.
And you tell me, say Ben White couldn't make this team?
Absolutely.
Oh.
Yeah.
Vart, right, my missus is calling, and I know that she's in, what am I trying to say? She's had a jazz cigarette, so I've got to give her a little call. I'm going to mute it, though, and in case she's having a terrible time. Oh, fuck, I missed 8 calls. She might be having a nightmare, as long as she doesn't expect me to go pick her up. Let me mute it. Hang on. Sorry, people. Damn woman, I already done told her time if you're going to smoke the plant, you got to deal with the up and the down. Right, now, we did get somewhat tangented. Let's go back to Seagal. Now, there's a British comedian called Jack Whitehall. And Jack Whitehall was just establishing himself when I was coming up the ranks as a comedian. And I had an agent say to me, this isn't me blowing my own trumpet, you don't have to believe this, it doesn't really matter. But she said, look, she said, your Edinburgh show sold out every night. She said, Jack Whitehall can't get half his room full. She said, but he's got a TV series. She said, that's the difference. She said, what's anyone going to do with you on television? And that's what it's about. Most of the people who are doing comedy when I was doing it, they didn't have a passion or a love for stand-up. They just wanted to get into adverts, get into presenting, be a celebrity. And which is, you know, when I say to you, Jack Whitehall, do you think great comedian? But you know him because he presents things and he turns up on This Morning and talks about, I went on holiday with my father. We made a show out of it. It's called Father and I on Our Travels. Anyway, he had a little run-in with Steven Seagal, and I'm going to show you it. Now, this is a bit like the Krypton factor. Pay attention to this, okay? I'll just clean up on some donations. Little bullet, nice one for the fire spot. Oh, you've been outbid, Packer. Bullets put a Lady Godiva in asking not to play it. Great call. Andy Mack off to slap some family members, metaphorically. Good luck, Andy. You know, relax with it. Relax, son. I imagine you've already gone. But yeah, don't let it stress you out. You know, they want us to fall out with our families. They want that. Of course they do. Because then you're stuck. Then you're lost. Hello, Ted. You are here. There you go. You felt the vibe of Seagal. Nice to see you, mate. Interesting to you're gonna have an interesting winter, aren't you? But then actually you tend to do top of the range stuff, so your clients probably aren't feeling the pinch so much, which is fucking lucky. Nice one, Ted. Appreciate it, and good to see you as well. Right, here we go. Have a look at a bit of Seagal and Jack Whitehall. Now, this isn't a great clip, but I might as well ask you now, rather than the Krypton factor. Do you reckon this is legit, or do you reckon this was set up? Have a look. It's not very funny, by the way, but there's a reason I'm showing you it. There's more to this than meets the eye. Here we go.
Hello, Mr. Seagal. Hi, I'm Jack. I'm a big fan of yours.
Nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you. I'm staying in the hotel as well. Yeah, a huge fan of your work. I'm an actor myself.
Really?
Yeah.
Action actor?
Some action.
Martial arts?
No, not really.
I mean, while we're taking the piss out of Seagal, look how amazing he looks. He walks around like some kind of Buddha. I mean, I'm starting to decide he might actually be one of the coolest blokes on the planet. I don't care about all the nonsense. He's having an absolute ball. He's managed to grift an incredible life. Yeah, I'll tell you what, do you know that Steven Seagal was one of the first people who brought judo, well, Aikido originally, which is, but judo to Brazil. Not the first, but it was, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, anyone here who knows anything about MMA will. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu didn't come from Jiu-Jitsu, it came from judo. Judo has a ground game. I remember when I used to do, my old man didn't let me do, my old man studied karate, my old man studied Wado-Ryu, and he said to me as a kid, because I wanted to do karate, because I was watching Bruce Lee films, and my old man, we went to the karate club, And he said, nah, he said, listen, I'll teach you karate. Why don't you go and do judo? Excuse me. Years later, my dad said to me, he said, the real reason I took you to judo was everyone in that karate club was twice your size. I was a very, very late developer. I didn't go into puberty till I was 15. Now you know why I'm mental. I like to party, but I done judo. And I'll tell you what, judo done me better. I mean, I ended up doing Wado-Ryu, Shotokan, Taekwondo, Muay Thai, kickboxing. But as a youngster, judo done me so much better at school for fighting than any of those. And this is why jiu-jitsu is probably your best game for if you're looking at protecting yourself, street fights, whatever. Because the thing about karate is if you're at school, it's a lot of pushing, there's a lot of grabbing. You know, people grabbing your arms or your fucking blazer. Now, if you're actually going to then, whoosh, put like an head kick in, well, you're calling on a proper fight then. Most school fights don't get to that. Once you punch someone in the face, it's a proper fight. Everyone's going to start spitting on you. Well, that's what happened at our school. As soon as two people were having a fight, everyone would be gobbing on him. It was fucking foul. But judo was amazing. I found it incredible. All those leg sweeps, all those throws. And years later, my dad said to me, he said, not only were they all bigger than you, he said, karate is more about the mind. He said, it's more about discipline. And he said, I done it for the Zen. My old man was big into Zen. Yeah, I know it's weird. Well, it's not so weird, but it was in 1978. But he said, judo is actually a better fighting art than karate. And I'll tell you this now, if you had to go into the ring, if you had to go into the octagon, you've got two options. You take out your ground game, your judo, your Brazilian jiu-jitsu comes from judo. I'll argue anyone on that. Or your karate. I'll drop my karate out any day. Any day. Very few fights stay up on 4 feet. Very few. And like I say, I remember going to a competition. My local judo club done a competition. And I can't remember the names of all the fucking throws and sweeps now, but I was very good at it. And I remember I got this bloke and I'd done it and the judge went, Ippon! That's a full point. That's 1 full point. And I remember my dad stood up and was going, and he was not like that. He was quite reserved, especially when it comes to praise. And to see my old man, I was only like 9 and I threw this massive, bigger kid, full Ippon, full point. Oh, it was marvelous. Anyway, so I enjoyed that. Back to Seagal. Now, hang on. When I say, is this set up? Obviously, this bit's set up. They didn't just bump into him and say, let's have, there's loads of cameras and there'll be reflectors and lights and all that. But you'll see what I mean.
More sort of sitcoms and things like that. And this is my dad. Daddy?
Does Jack Whitehall strike you as someone who's funny? Anyone laughed at anything he's done yet? It's just nothing. That's not a comedian. That's not a man with a funny bone.
I'm doing a show with my father.
Do you still call him Daddy?
Sorry?
Do you still call him Daddy?
Yeah. Daddy, this is Steven Seagal.
Oh, Mr. Seagal. Very, very nice to meet you, sir.
Yes, we're traveling around Southeast Asia for a very serious...
Obviously, logistically, it's a strange thing to say, but why do I get the impression both father and son are homosexual?
Travelogue. Have you been to Cambodia?
Yeah.
What's it like as a place?
Cambodia, it's a beautiful, beautiful country, but at the same time, there's a lot of lawlessness.
There isn't.
And mafia and different things like that.
There isn't.
So just be careful.
Are there any martial arts moves that you could teach me that would be useful for me to know if I got into any trouble? Is there any martial arts that I could do?
Can you run fast?
Yeah, very quick.
Let's just leave it at that then.
May I ask one more question as well?
Yeah, sure.
I know that you're a Zen master. What is the essence of Zen?
Steven Seagal just threw me into a pond.
What an obnoxious little shit. Why is Rags calling me? I'd have thought you'd known I was busy, Rags.
No, I'm on the way.
What?
I can't watch the stream the porn bots. I will be more there.
Oh my God, don't worry about the porn bots. Just leave them there. That's all right, son. Are you okay? He just hung up on me. Rags, you all right? Rags said he can't watch the stream because he's having to get rid of the porn bots. Rags, leave them there. Don't worry about them, mate. Right, I'm with all of you lot. It's so staged. And did any of you go, it's not, there's no comedy. Why would you set that up? I've got a great idea. Now, that's not the denouement. The denouement comes when fuckhead Whitehall is on some daytime telly show, and I get it that he's trying to Rags, if it's distracting you from the stream, just leave them there. You know, in a way, we like our sex bots around. It's kind of appropriate on this channel. You're all right, Rags. I get that he's got to promote a show, but again, look at this. Look at this absolute fakery from Jack Whitehall.
The weirdest moment of the trip was probably this scene with Steven Seagal, which happens in episode 3. We're in Bangkok. I'm in the hotel. I walk down past the restaurant and I see Steven Seagal having breakfast. I was like, that's Casey Ryback, and I believe he's eating breakfast in our hotel. I've got to go over and say something. So I went over and I was like, oh, can I get a selfie? And his manager was English, and he was like, oh, this is Jack Whitehall. He's a comedian in the UK, Stephen. And Stephen was like, oh, what are you doing? I was like, I'm filming this travel log. He was like, would you like me to be in it? And I was like,
he's a busy man.
Yes, I would. Yes, I would. And he was like, okay, I've got an idea. This will be...
That's all lies. I'm not buying any of that. Absolute lies.
Really funny. I'm going to walk out of the hotel and you come up to me and you ask me this question, and then I'll just ask me this. And he asked me this thing about, like, I needed to ask him what the essence of Zen was. So I was like, okay. And I went and told the producers, like, can you just go outside and film? Because I think Steven Seagal is about to come and do a joke on camera. Whoa. So he walked out and I went, hello, Steven Seagal, I'm a fan of yours. What is the essence of Zen? And he threw me in a fountain. Because the essence of Zen is to submerge yourself in it. Now, yeah, hilarious. He didn't tell me that he was going to do that. He just threw me in a pond and then just walked off and got into his car and drove off without signing a release form or explaining what any of it meant.
No. Just no. The state of British comedy. I mean, you know, he went from doing the same gigs I was doing, open mics, to having his own telly show in 3 years. Now, when you let me just look into this. So I don't want to get this wrong. Hang on, just so that we get this right. Michael Whitehall, right? That's Jack Whitehall's dad. So when the agent says to me, "You sell out your Edinburgh show every night," Jack Whitehall can't even half fill his venue. She said, "But he's got a TV show. What can we do with you on telly?" And she said, "That's going to be your problem," right? His father, who then said, "Oh, Mr. Seagal, let me read you a little bit about his father." Ask yourself whether this might have had anything to do with it. Michael John Whitehall is an English author, producer, talent agent, and television personality. He's also a former theatrical agent with 2 production companies, Havenhall Pictures and Whitehall Films. He represents Colin Firth and Dame Judi Dench, among others. I understand that you make use of what you've got. If my old man was a talent, agent, yeah, okay. But can you understand what it's like when you're a comic and you're selling out every night and you're getting 5 stars on a double page spread in the Scotsman, and Jack Whitehall was getting 2 and 3 stars? And like, I remember one of his reviews was sort of like, hack comic Jack Whitehall seems to think being posh is funny, which it can be, but not for an entire hour. And yet he's still, that was 20 years ago. He's still a TV, I don't even know what is he, personality or something? He still gets whole seasons of shows about him. What a terrible shame. And the fact is, like, on the last stream, I showed you that Doug Stanhope 5 minutes about the 2-headed baby, and judging by the chat, people were absolutely. You won't get anyone like that anymore. There's no space for people like that anymore. People with a passion for comedy who want to get on stage and make you laugh. Jack Whitehall doesn't want to do that. I gigged with him once. I'll tell you who it was. It was me, Andrew Lawrence, based Andrew Lawrence. Me, and as I've told you before, Andrew Lawrence is a rags. I might be able to ban those people from the channel in one swoop. Actually, let's just see. Oh no, you've already done it. Oh, I get it. They keep coming back with different accounts. There you go. Okay. It was me, Andrew Lawrence, and Jack Whitehall. And Jack Whitehall was opening. I was the middle act, and Andrew Lawrence was the headline. And I sat there and I thought, well, here we go. Let's see what the big, and at the time he was the big name. When you arrived at the Edinburgh Festival, there was a fucking billboard of his Ed, and he looks a bit like the Yorkshire Ripper, which isn't great for comedy. Killing 12 prostitutes because God told you to. Not the funniest thing. I mean, maybe from a particular angle, but I thought, let's see what his comedy chops are. This is a live venue, and without all the editing, without all the best bits. Let's see how he actually pulls off a 25-minute slot, okay? He could do no wrong. He could do no wrong because the audience was mainly 19-year-old girls. And all it was there's the man from telly. I've been told that he's funny. So if I don't laugh, I'm the weirdo. If I don't laugh at this, there's something wrong with me. And that's how it works. You repeat something enough times, it becomes true. And that's how they marketed Jack Whitehall. Just fucking saturation bombing everywhere, put his face everywhere, put him on every single television show. He's a comedian. He's funny. He had nothing. I remember he opened up with like a gay hand here, an old gay, a TV gay hand, shall we say? I like the gays. I don't. This is an insult against Whitehall, not the gays. And his mic here, and he went. So I'm a comedian. Yeah. Mum's well happy. Hysteria. It was like, and I was just like, I looked at Andrew Lawrence as if to say, what the fuck? Literally. Yeah, so I'm a comedian. Mum's well happy. I'll tell you what it reminded me of. It reminded me of Joe Pesci. Remember that? The interesting thing about the what you're saying, I'm fucking funny. You know, when we talk about that scene, when anyone does, myself included on this channel many times, you know, the bit you remember, the bit you talk about, hang on, I'll show it to you, but I'll show you the different angle. Hang on. Don't worry, Pete, we've got plenty of time. I started an hour early so we could go on a while. Hang on. Here we go. Right. So, hang on. Where does it start? Right, hang on. Right, so this is the bit that everyone remembers, right? It's the bit where obviously he says, "What am I, like a fucking clown?" What do you mean? And it's and they do that Meisner thing that I've flogged like a dead horse. What do you mean I'm funny? Oh, you're funny. What do you mean I'm funny? Well, you're funny. What am I funny? I'm like a fucking clown. Oh, you're funny. Let's have a quick look at that. What?
You mean the way I talk? What?
It's just, you know, you're just funny. It's funny, you know, the way you tell the story and everything.
Funny how? I mean, what's funny about it?
Tommy, no, you got it all wrong.
Oh, Anthony. He's a big boy. He knows what he said. What'd you say?
You're right.
Funny how? What?
Just, you know, you're funny.
You mean,
So?
let me understand this, because maybe it's me, I'm a little fucked up, maybe. But I'm funny how? I mean, funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you. I make you laugh. I'm here to fucking amuse you. What do you mean funny? Funny how? How am I funny?
Undoubtedly a fantastic scene, and that's Meisner 101. You know, I've told you about it when it's called the reps, and that's all you do in Meisner. That's all Sanford Meisner brought. But that's all Sanford Meisner brought to movie acting, and it works a treat. I always say it, don't I? Taxi driver, you looking at me? Oh, you're looking at me, and he's doing it in the mirror, and then that gets quoted in Lahane. The bloke's got the gun in Lahane, and he's looking in the mirror, and he does a Meisner with himself. You looking at me? Oh, you're fucking looking at me. Oh, no, I'm looking at you. Yeah, you're looking at me. Right, so that's the bit we remember. But the more in that bit, if you notice, it says the whole restaurant goes silent, which it wouldn't do, but it really makes the scene intense. You know, everything Joe Pesci says fills the screen. But let's have a look at the bit before it, which I actually think is the more interesting bit. These are gangsters, right? Now, I have got a problem with gangster films. Everyone here loves them, right? Goodfellas, Godfather, what's the one where he went undercover, Johnny Depp. You know, there's loads of them. And we all like them. Oh, they're great movies. But they do glamorize crime a little bit, and we do call rap out for that, and we do call drill out for that. All they're talking about is fucking killing people and shagging birds. Well, the mafia were fucking thugs. They were horrible, nasty bastards who killed people for a few quid. So I think there is something going on there that I think for another time we'll look at. However, watch the bit when Joe Pesci's telling the story. Look at no one's laughing. Everyone's acting. Now, I know they're all acting, but it's like a second order of acting. You know, they're absolutely cracking up because they have to. And that's the more interesting part. And that's what the Jack Whitehall audience was like. I'm not sure if I got it to the right bit, but we should be roughly there. If we're not, I'll just take it back a bit.
All right, I'll tell you something. I give me all kinds of questions, you know, this and that. He says, so what are you going to tell us, tough guy? I said, my usual, zero, nothing. I tell you, fuck. He says, no, you're going to tell me something today, tough guy. I said, all right, I'll tell you something. Go fuck your mother. Bing, pow, boom, bing. You saw the paper.
Did you see his boat race there? I can never remember the character's name, but look at that. And, you know, it's a great bit of acting because it's hard. And look at his face there, look. It's hard enough acting like you're laughing because laughter's a reflex action. Don't forget, Scrubs, don't laugh alone. Laughing's a reflex action. So very hard to pull that off in a movie where you think it's funny. But to be able to act fake laughing, that's a very that takes a lot of skill, and they absolutely nail it. You know that this scene isn't right. There's something under the surface, which there always is in these movies because they're thugs. You know, there's something going on. We'll have a look at a bit more of it. I just want to show that, just that little bit again, because his face, you know, and there's that really lovely sort of, he looks, there's a couple of glances around. Everyone's laughing, yeah? I'm laughing. Is that what we're doing? We're laughing hysterically at this, right? Is that what we do at this part, yeah? Is this the codes that we're engaging in this moment? Have a look.
Today, tough guy. I said, all right, I'll tell you something. Go fuck your mother. Bing, pow, boom, bing. You saw the paper, Anthony. My hair was up like this. Prick. So now I'm coming around, you know. I start to come out of it. Who do I see in front of me? This big prick again. He says, oh, what do you want to tell me now, tough guy? I said, Bing, what are you doing here? I thought I'd tell you to go fuck your mother. I thought he was going to shit.
Now, the weird thing is, how many times have you seen that scene? Get into focus. Not you, me. It's not my camera. I sometimes go out of focus in real life. The amount of times I've seen that scene, I couldn't tell you the story that Pesci's telling there. And I did pay particular attention to it then. But does anyone know that story? What is it? He told someone to fuck off, or are you told someone to fuck their mother? It's almost irrelevant. Which Scorsese is a genius, you know. Scorsese is a cinematographer, but that's not what the beat is. The beat in the film there is we play along. We're not friends. These people ain't friends. You know how it works in the mafia. You get shot the next day if someone tells you to. You have to shoot your best friend if you're told to. That's what that's what it was like watching Jack Whitehall. Now, obviously, I'm sure I'm going to get a couple of comments. No one was going to get shot, but there's still that social pressure. If one of those 19-year-old girls was to sort of go, hang on, this isn't very funny. She's the weirdo in the group. Now, some girls like being the weirdo in the group, but not most of them. Most girls at that age want to belong. And they've been already instructed by the larger culture industry that Jack Whitehall is a funny man. And so to question that makes you wrong, makes you weird. And me and Andrew Lawrence were just like, wow, how do you compete with this? Because I knew when I went on and told my horrible story about some brass, I had to actually make them laugh. You know, I had no backup. Even the fucking compere said something really awful about me before I went on, like they tended to. He also asked me where he could get a prostitute for 45 quid. And I tell you what, I spun that back on him after he cunted me off before I went on. I said, it's all very funny that he said that, but he also asked me where he could get a whore for 45 quid. Not that I've got anything wrong with prostitution, but 45 quid, Jesus Christ, you might as well fuck a watermelon. Then I had him in the palm of my hands. Old Jack Whitehall saw how it was done then, son. Oh, I had an absolute dream of a gig. And then Andrew Lawrence, sublime. Absolutely sublime. Andrew Lawrence is a legitimate... Andrew Lawrence has got a passion for comedy. I'm not so into his Twitter clips where he goes, I am officer blah, blah, blah of the speech police. As a stand-up, brilliant. Brilliant. And he didn't have any of that. And don't forget, they'd already sat through who they come to see. Most of those girls wanted to go, to be honest with you, after me, because that was the interval. So he really had to work, and he done it. But, you know, there's just that idea that people have already been conditioned to like something that they're not even aware of. I doubt that anyone went home, any of those Jack Whitehall fans went home and sort of said to their mums or friends, oh, Jack Whitehall, he was brilliant. He'd done this bit where he said something about he was funny, Jack White. Oh, nothing. Absolutely nothing. Right. Weirdly, it would appear that I've got my clips out of order because I actually did get some judo to show you. A bit weird, I know. Let me just deal with a couple of donations that come in. Machano Kapushinata Kanatu. Hang on a minute. Billy got the ump with me the other day. He said, I'm just throwing money away here at the moment. He's not reading any of my comments. I think Bill's given up on donating. Is he even here, the old niggler? What did Niggler? Oh, listen to Niggler. Did any of you see my latest Dragon's Den reaction? At the end of it, I put a very beautiful lady dancing, and I also played the whole version of Sweet, which I've never done. I thought I'll treat them. If they've made it this far, I'll put a cracking salt on and I'll play the whole version of Sweet. And it was registered in the comments. Niggling Bill, that niggling little bastard said in the Scrubs lifeboat, and I'll remind me to mention the Scrubs lifeboat. I've got something serious to talk to you about that. Niggling Bill said something like, Did you ask Devon Tracy's permission for that? Looks like one of his. Oh, I'm sorry. Does my good friend Devon Tracy have the monopoly on pretty women dancing and music at the end of YouTube videos? Good God, the fucking cheek of it. What a niggler. I couldn't believe it. What a thing to say. Bloody cracking bit of dancing though, wasn't it? She had a lovely pair of dancings. Right, that's it, Henry Hill. Good call, people. Right, where are these Danashi Tatus? I'm sure a load come in. Oh God, you lot ain't stopped talking. That fair play, Toffee, yes. And I do love him, you know. He's hung around here long enough with plenty of mouth. No, I love him to death, but he's not called a niggler for nothing. Did you get permission from Devon for that? Something like that. I just thought, yeah, sorry to spend another 10 minutes on making a video. Right, where are we? Thank you, everyone, for the donations. I know everyone's skint, but that also includes me. So there you go. It's quite weird when I'm zooming through the comments this fast because the messages mix up, and I'm sure two messages just mixed up, and I thought I read "Get Bruce Lee on as a guest." Okay, out with the Ouija board. Right, here we go. If people put their hands in their pockets, they do deserve recognising. Rags, don't worry about those people. They're all right. It's nice to have people soliciting sex. It seems appropriate for this channel. Hello, St. George's Sue. Nice to see you, love. Hello, Mark Shaw. Got a cracking big game tomorrow, son. What do you reckon, Mark? I reckon 2-2. I don't like to say it, but I reckon 2-2. Lil Bullet. What's your opinion on Stuart Lee? Can't stand him. Absolutely can't stand him. And a lot of my comedian mates who I rate as great comics think he's brilliant. I find Stuart Lee thinks he's hilarious, much funnier than he has been funny. I have seen a couple of lines where he's been quite funny. But, you know, it's a Guardian reading audience. Should that affect my judgments of him? Yeah, of course, because that's his audience for a reason. It's very much, are you in on this? You know, are you in on this? And I've seen him pull people in the audience out and just be very nasty to them because they aren't necessarily educated, shall we say. I find him nauseating. I would give him a slap with a wet kipper if I saw him. Well, I did see him and I didn't give him a slap with a wet kipper. So nice one, Bullet. But no, not my cup of tea. You know, not my cup of tea at all. But, you know, that doesn't make him a bad comic. Here's a weird sort of secondary comment. I think Stuart Lee has got where he is based on comedy chops. I think he can write a set. I think he's got an angle. I think he's a good comedian, but it's just not. I'm just not into it. You know, it's not my cup of tea. But I think he's a good comic. Does that make sense? You know, like I think. Let me think of someone. Oh God, I can't think of the gee's name. Like someone like Pissarro, one of the impressionists. Like Cézanne, I absolutely adore. Van Gogh, I adore. Pissarro, can't be doing with it. Don't like it. But he's a great painter. I think he's up there with the rest of the impressionists and post-impressionists. But it's just not I don't know, it doesn't do it for me. It seems laboured. It seems overly contrived. As does Stuart Lee. Arklow rocks, hoit to that. I saw Phil Cool. Phil Cool used to pull faces, didn't he? My mum bought me the Phil Cool book for Christmas one year. Not my cup of tea. I saw Phil Cool in the Olympia in Dublin in '89. He was a fantastic British comedian. His impressions and musical ability all top notch. Well, Phil, thank you, Arklow, for that Lady Godiva. Phil Cool come from that old breed of British comics who actually done the work, you know, started off on the open mic scene, toured up and down the country, were doing working men's clubs for 20 quid an hour. You know, you'd do 2 or 3 of those a night, stay in a bed and breakfast. It's fucking hard life. And finally got a TV show, but then he went into a massive depression and pretty much became an alcoholic. Mark says that Peter Sutcliffe is less offensive than Jack Whitehall. Hello, Matt Zucker. Hello, Ludwig. Hello, hello, Shane. Good to see you, son. Hello, Barrett Zippo. Hello, Willow. Mousecat. Baz. If I haven't said hello to you, I've been very, very busy today. I hope the show's going well. Don't forget it's sponsored by my Substack. Top link in the description. Go and give them a read. Sign up. Thank you. Hoyt, come on, let's do it. Mrs. Me in it. Phil Saliva. Hi, Danger. No comma. I'll punctuate it. Don't worry, love. Hi, Danger. Me and Mousecat spent the afternoon in the Shed pub. Trust me, people. Mrs. Me in it and Mousecat Shed pub is a better pub than nearly every boozer in Dartford. Bigger, kept better, looks better, probably got a bigger range of drinks. When she says Shed, don't let that trick you. It's a full-blown boozer with a neon Mandom sign. Holy grail of neon Grailtons. Hi, Danger. Me and Mousecats. What, just the 2 of you? Oh, God. Sensual. Spent the afternoon in the Shed pub, karaokeing it. Good touch. You've made up for the missing comma. Just the 2. Rare old songs. How lovely. Pissed as fish, were you? Oh, how lovely you 2 are. Look at that. They've been together years. They knew each other when they were kids. And they're still finding a Saturday afternoon, half a bottle of gin, the other half up the back door. Sorry. that refers to something most of you won't know. So I'll tell you what that was. You know, Gail from the Crack Diaries, we were trying to work out how to get a lot of codeine into us as quick as possible. And you can't shoot codeine. You can't inject it. It fucks you up. It's got has a mad histamine reaction. But you can, it is water soluble. And then you can just inject it up your bum. Not inject it with a needle, but just with one of those baby feeder syringes. And Gail went, really? I said, yeah, there's loads of capillaries in your ass that will absorb the codeine. And Gail sort of, you know, she was out of her nut. We were doing a grand a day of crack and the skag. And she looked all sort of confused in that, Gail. And she went, so if you got a girl and put a bottle of vodka into her bum and got her to do a handstand, in about an hour or so, no, in about 5 minutes, you'll be able to get her to do anything. I'm sure I don't have to explain that, but for the ones of you that didn't get it, if you've got a girl doing a handstand with a bottle of vodka up her bum, she's already doing anything. Yeah, it's a weird thing. So I wasn't for a minute suggesting that the me inits were having analysing in the Shed pub, but what a lovely thing that they were having a great chat, a great sing along. Good Lord, I apologise, Mousecat and Mrs. Me in it. I really turned something beautiful into something quite unpleasant. Right. Did I miss any more? Let me know if I missed any people. I'm just having a look. Hello, Ray's Machine, Skin and Tonic. Good to see you, mate. Hello, Daffyd. Hello, Ugly Truth. Hello, Ugly Truth. Seems to be in a while since I've seen you. Moody Edges on the firm too. Paul. Hello, Paul. JP. Zen Maverick. Nice to see you all. Hello, Lee. Good to see you. Triple E Lee's on the firm. William Nicholson is on the firm. Right. Don't worry. Hello, James. Keeping up the old Twitch miniature there. Lovely. It does work on men too, yes, but she had a sinister lesbian side, Gail, which turned me on. Right. Let's have a look at some judo. Have a look at this judo, and you'll see. You know what it's like. You're not actually fighting until you're throwing hands, but if you're laying hands, it's still a little bit. That's what happened at my school. You know, you grab. You know, it's a bit. And that's why my dad got me to do judo. And you'll see. Now, this isn't groundwork, but some of these throws, I could do throws like this as like, 4.5 foot tall to 6 foot tall blokes, and did. Because if a bloke lunges at you, if you can get him on your hip and you can drop your other side, his own power will take him over. And it really does work. It does work. And you see it in the UFC all the time. It just gets given, the credits given to jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu. But like I said, look into it if you don't believe me. Brazilian jiu-jitsu comes from judo. That's a fact. I know there's no such thing as facts, but in my world, when I'm talking, there is, especially that one. Anyway, have a look at some top quality judo, and you'll see. I'd rather my kids learn this than karate, and I mean that. I'd rather them learn jiu-jitsu, but that wasn't an option in 1982. And if we have it with the sound, and don't forget, with this, they've got sprung padded mats. But if you chuck someone like these lads do onto concrete, they're likely not going to get up. In fact, the current gold medal world champion judo player is a Mongolian bloke. He's only about 5'6". Also in these clips, check out the leg sweeps. They're amazing. And I can, from experience, tell you they work a treat. The leg sweeping's amazing. There's a couple coming up. Brian Jacks was based as fuck, and he came to my local judo dojo. He knew one of the blokes who run it. Yeah, absolutely met Brian Jacks, Woodlander. And what a bloke. He wasn't he on Superstars, the BBC sort of sports competitive sports program. No, Brian Jacks was great. There's your tweet. Look at that. I'll tell you now, I'll put money on this. I don't reckon anyone in the chat, myself included, anyone here up against any of these blokes, I don't reckon you'll be able to get any of these blokes on the ground. You could do, I reckon none of us would stand a chance. Professional Olympic quality judokas, you ain't getting, no. They know all about center of balance. They know all how to stand. You do what you want. And then when they're ready, bosh, your lights go out. The reason I've stopped it there is that's exactly what I meant. Hang on. Look at the build up. The build up to this throw is much like a school fight. Look at them. Look at the way they sort of just grabbing at each other's lapels. Look, all that laugh. No, you're done. No, you're done. No, you're good. Yeah, I suggest going and giving it a look. If you're into your fighting sports and if you're into MMA, judo's been pushed to the side, but that's where Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu come from. And if it wasn't for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you don't get the UFC. You know, that doesn't happen. It was only on the back of pride and the Gracie family turning up and saying, we'll fight anyone. Anyone, any discipline, come to our gym, we'll fight them. Go and check out Napoleon Bonaparte's channel, and you'll see the whole history of the UFC. And that, without judo going to Brazil, and without the Gracie family saying we'll fight any style, any weight, you don't get what we've got today, and that would be a real shame. Now, while we're talking about the UFC, we all know Tyrone Woodley, right? One in the chat. Don't worry, you don't have to tell me you're only kidding. It's become a Scrubs meme after I shitted on everyone for calling things fake. It absolutely was. Ian, do you know Napoleon Bonaparte's channel? Because if you don't, that's about 10 hours of viewing you're just going to love. You're going to need to get yourself 4 packs of biscuits and about 20 litres of tea. Okay, so we know Tyrone Woodley. You know, well-known bloke, fighter, decent fighter. I wouldn't fight him. Tyrone Woodley, much like Steven Seagal, this is beautiful. This is classic. Oh, good call, Ian. I spoke to him, Ian. I tried to get him on this channel, Ian. I tried to get him on, and he said if I could get over my fear of speaking live in public, I'd come on. He said I won't close the door, but I've got to. I said to him, well, you know, I'm going to keep. He's so good, isn't he, Ian? And anyone here into the UFC, check out Napoleon Bonaparte. Let him know I sent you, because it might help me get him on. I want to get him on to talk about the UFC. Tyrone Woodley also released a song. Now, admittedly, they've dropped the backing track for LOLs, but this is shocking. I don't think I've ever heard anything so bad. Have a look at this. Tyrone Woodley song, In and Out of Love, yeah? And now, I know it's the obvious one to say in and out of tune. Check it. It's so funny when one of the hardest blokes on the planet, and you can't argue that, you know, he's one of the hardest blokes on the planet. Check him out. It's not video, but I might have a little surprise up my sleeve, but just listen to this.
Oh, I'm so in love with you. Oh, I'm so done with you. But I'm still in love with you. Oh, falling in and out of love, in and out of love with you. Falling in and out of love, in and out of love with you. Falling in and out of love, in and out of love with you. Falling in and out of love. Yeah, falling in and out of love, in and out of love with you. Got me acting crazy as you know how love will do. Don't believe I'm leaving your ass. No, I ain't bluffing you. Tell everything that you ask is not enough for you.
Now, yes, that's enough. There's a couple of people in the chat talking about Wing Chun. Wing Chun's rubbish. Wing Chun saves no, it's nothing. Wing Chun's nothing. Someone said about Bruce Lee and Wing Chun. Bruce Lee was Jeet Kune Do, which was essentially mixed martial arts. Bruce Lee said, look, there's good things in all the martial arts. Let's bring the best bits together. And then he added to that, closest target, nearest weapon. But Wing Chun's pathetic. Have you not seen those Wing Chun masters fighting MMA fighters? The Wing Chun bloke comes up with his circles and the MMA bloke goes poof. Nah, Wing Chun's nothing. Oh, you're talking about the band. Anyway, Napoleon Blown Apart, as far as I can work out, has actually got some footage. It's only a small bit and it does go out of sync, but just when you thought that could be fake, I remember seeing it on Napoleon's channel. I don't like to use his stuff too much, but here's Tyrone Woodley. It'll come up in a minute.
Yet the UFC was still about as palatable to
I just like what Napoleon Blown Apart says about Tyrone Woodley's singing, so that's why you've got the little intro.
vanguard of a new era for the UFC, yet the UFC was still about as palatable to the public as Tyron Woodley's singing career.
Oh, I'm so in love with you. Oh, I'm so done with you. But I'm still in love with you.
Bass drop.
Oh, I'm so in love with you. Oh, I'm so done with you.
I mean, how do you step back into the octagon after that? If I had to fight him when the ref had us both in the middle and was going through the rules, I'd be singing to Tyrone. I'd be going, I'm so in love with you. I'm so in love. Oi, I know you done that. I know you done that. Right. Where are we going? It's another massive jump because it's the weekend show and it's light. It's light. This is a lovely show. Hit like if you haven't, people. This is just a bit of nothing. I've got very little to say about this. It doesn't come very cleanly off the last segment, and it doesn't go very cleanly into the next segment. But Lil Bullet, Krav Maga, slowest moves, movies fast. Yeah, but even Krav Maga, it's a bit, I mean, Krav Maga essentially, thank you, Bullet, hoit to that. Krav Maga has been kind of hijacked by lunatics who are making it out to be something it isn't. I think, wasn't it originally something the Israeli army developed as an offensive attack rather than a martial art? It was just like, it's not about defending yourself. It's about how to hurt someone quickly. Don't quote me on that. I don't know a hell of a lot about it. But when you look at the UFC, when you look at MMA, it's a ground game. So jiu-jitsu, wrestling, Muay Thai, kickboxing, and boxing. That's pretty much it, isn't it? You don't really hear people talking about their Wing Chun and their Krav Maga game in the MMA. Maybe, though. But I'm sure it was an Israeli military thing, much like the Spetsnaz thing was the Soviet and Ukrainian special forces, Spetsnaz. They done Sistema, which, again, was an offensive thing. It was, if there's a target and you're unarmed, this is what you do to bring them down. But system has been hijacked by lunatics who go up to each other like that, and you know, it's not that far away from fucking Dim Mac Death Touch. Anyway, this is Javier Bardem. One in the chat, if you don't Google it, because that's pointless. You can if you want, I suppose. Javier Bardem. One in the chat if you know. Good call, Vulture Droid. Jazz hands. That's what Systema has become. Javier Bardem. Anyone know him? Well, here's the weird thing. Nearly all of you do know him, because he's the psychopath from No Country for Old Men. You know, the bloke with the animal, I don't know what they call those things. What is it? Bolt gun. It's a bolt gun. Am I right? Am I right? People, am I right? And I'd never seen Javier Bardem talk before. And I quite like those because I'm doing this video on passion. I've been looking at those, you know, when you know the GQ things, and there's a few other channels that do it now. But when people break down their most iconic roles, and I wanted Christian Bale talking about when he was in The Fighter. You know, the movie The Fighter, fucking brilliant. And Christian Bale is fucking brilliant. If you haven't seen The Fighter, don't worry if you're not into fighting, although I know nearly all of you are. The Fighter's a cracking movie, and Christian Bale nails it, and he's a crackhead, and trust me, he nails it. So while I was looking for that clip for this video about living your life with a passion and with a romance, I just bumped into this Javier Bardem talking about his role in No Country for Old Men, and I just found it very interesting because he's amazing in the movie. So check this out. This is him talking about that character. It's very short, and like I say, I haven't got a lot to say about it, but I hadn't really heard him talk about it or heard him talk ever. So I thought it was very interesting what he said. He says something. Well, let's just fucking play it.
Y'all getting any rain up your way?
What way would that be?
I seen you was from Dallas.
Well, business is of yours, where I'm from.
So the bloke you can see at the moment is not Javier Bardem. Javier Bardem is the bloke with his back to us. And it's such an intense character. And yet it's intense because it lacks intensity. I know that's a bit postmodern, but it's terrifying because it lacks terror. He's almost absent. You know, there's no humanity. And that's that, you know, when people who can kill without caring are people who don't have a self. They have no conception of life. That's how you can kill someone without giving a shit. That isn't the likes of Jeffrey Dahmer. That isn't the likes of Peter Sutcliffe. You know, that isn't the likes of these people who, you know, eat their victims. They've got a passion. You know, passion isn't always a good thing. But to kill without caring is because you don't understand how to value life, because you don't value your own. And that is real psychopathy. You know, it's just, you know, it's almost like the epitome of narcissism, which is weird because you think narcissists value themselves, but they don't. You know, Narcissus fell in love with his reflection, but that harbors a lie because the reflection is just him, and he saw it as other. He saw himself as other. And the really interesting thing about Narcissus is his actual girlfriend fucked off and became just a voice, and her name was Echo. That's more interesting. Anyway, check out what he says about this role.
Friendo. The challenge was to create this person who would feel nothing. He will follow his own ethics, no matter what, and he will do it against his own will. I guess that's the crazy part. Like if something beyond his control or over him is telling him how to act, and still we don't know what it is. As an actor, that's the world that I kind of created for myself to, I guess, justify Anton Chigurh's actions. Because in the book, he's not described as well. He comes, he destroys, he disappears. So you have to really understand a little bit of what's going on in your mind in order to execute those actions. Like, for example, in the gas station scene, I was always thinking that there was a superior voice and order that was making a decision through me. Call it. So this is not something personal against that person or that person. It's like there are things that must be done in terms of create a better world, what he thinks is a better world. And in this case, it's a world where people don't marry into businesses. They own or they earn their own businesses. So when he says that it was his father's shop, he says, so you marry into it. That is a change. It's like, wow, that's not good. And so it's unexpected. But that's also part of the Cormac McCarthy words and the Coen brothers' brilliant script.
I need to know what I stand to win.
Everything.
How's that?
You stand to win everything, call it.
How does that cast work with?
I don't know, because I didn't have any interaction with any of them. I was just killing people constantly. I had a scene with Woody Harrelson, which was a fun moment because Woody is such an adorable, fun, caring, loving guy, an amazing actor. And we had a blast doing that scene. But Josh Brolin, which I adore, admire, respect, and really worship him as a man, as an actor, and as a human being, really helped me so much at a personal level in that movie, because I was going through a hard time, and he really rescued me out of it, like with his humor and with his care and attention and presence. It was the last thing I would like to do in that moment, kill him. So I had to make a big effort to try to put my face into killing Llewellyn Mosh, because personally I love and I adore the guy.
So all the last bit was just actor claptrap. But the amazing thing he said there was, I arrive, I destroy, I leave. And if you haven't seen the movie, go and see it, because it's strangely picaresque in its own way. But that coin flip, you know by that time, or based on very little, that if that geezer calls that coin wrong, he's dead. So that's when he says, "What? I don't know. What do I stand to win?" The Coen brothers are very good with dialogue, because the more obvious question, and the one most people would write, is, what do I stand to lose? And then the bloke's stuck with, I'm going to kill you. And that's not interesting, is it? Because you want to have that going on in here as a viewer. That's what I always talk about with good storytelling, is what's left out. Good storytelling is where the reader, or the viewer in the case of a film, but we can still call it reading, has to invest in it. That has to fill in the gaps. If he'd have said, what do I stand to lose? The killer's, well, your life. And there's the tension's all gone. Oh, okay, well, what do I stand to win is such an amazing, just a very, very subtle distinction in the dialogue. And then the other bloke says, you everything. Because, and then you tell yourself in your head, because if you lose, you're gonna die. It's fucking amazing. Just that tiny little detail. As a writer, that just blows my mind, because I've got a book of currently 157,000 words. Well, let's say that each sentence is 10 words. And as you know, that's being generous. I usually write 40-word sentences. But, that's a lot of sentences. And if you can change something, if you can change a scene so dramatically from something that's successful, something that involves the reader, that pulls them in, that makes them write the story with you, compared to them just passively consuming it, by writing, what do I stand to win or what do I stand to lose? You know, consider a whole novel like that on just those, on such tiny fulcrums, such huge things rest. And that's why it's taken me 6 years and counting. Right, where are we? I need a 2-hour piss break. Sorry, people. I'm not going to drive either, or it's going to come out. I might take marshmallow into the toilet with me. I fucking finished them. Oh, bollocks. Give me a 1 in the chat if at any point since I played it, because I just did then on the Lash, if any of you have got I'm so in love with you, I'm so in love with you. I was just singing that in the lab. Good Lord. Right, where are we going here? We're going to go there, there, and there. Right, we're not wrapping this up. We've got about another 20, 30 minutes. Depends how much I talk, really. It's gone 1 in the morning here, but that's all right. Have a little look at this. Right, you know what I think about AI. I'm not convinced. I think the way people are talking about AI at the moment is much the same as when Tomorrow's World was talking about everyone having flying cars when in the 1980s. I just don't think it's got anywhere near the power people think it's got. For processing data, yeah, I'll give you that. But all the scare stories and the likes of Zuckerberg's Meta, you know, the metasphere, I'm just not buying it. I'm just not buying people. They have tried and tried and tried and tried to get people to put these fucking things on. And yeah, look, I'm not there. It's just not going to happen. I don't buy it. I just think it's rubbish. It's got its uses, but it's in data and not behavioral experiences. Anyway, on that, let's see what mad as a box of frogs Steve Turley's got to say about Zuckerberg and Meta stocks at the moment.
And Meta are in an Mark Zuckerberg and Meta are in an absolute free fall. Users are leaving, revenue is down, and their stock value keeps falling. Offices are being closed, layoffs abound, and Zuckerberg's wealth is beginning to evaporate. We are going to see what's behind the collapse of what was once considered the titan among woke big tech giants, and stick them at the very end of this video when we'll find out why they only have themselves to blame. On Friday of last week, CNBC reported on what appeared to be nothing less than an out-of-control death spiral for Meta stock. Meta, of course, being the parent company of Facebook. Now, get this. Only 4 stocks in the whole of the S&P 500 were performing worse than Meta. Just a year ago, it was beginning to look like Meta was absolutely insurmountable. They were sporting a market cap of $1 trillion.
Now, look, markets are volatile. You know, this doesn't necessarily say it's over. You know, markets are volatile. And at the moment, with what's going on in Russia, with what's going on with the Nord pipeline that America had absolutely nothing to do with, that's for sure, even though Biden said he could and he would do that if he needed to about 6 months ago, and that's on record. But I just needed to get that out there. But so it's exceptionally volatile at the moment. But I have looked, I'm always scanning the stocks and that, and Meta's looking shocking. Big institutional investors, and if you don't know, institutional investors are not you and me, basically. They're big hedge fund management companies, and they're running like the wind. Usually in market volatility, people are buying low stocks because they know it will go back up. But that doesn't seem to be happening with Meta.
Putting him up at the financial summit of just a handful of U.S. technology giants. But since then, Meta has lost a colossal 2/3 of its value. Its stock is trading at its lowest in years, and it's about to close out its third straight quarter of double-digit percentage losses. Again, only 4 stocks in the whole of the S&P 500 are having a worse year. As it turns out, millions upon millions of users in the United States and Canada have closed their accounts and dumped Facebook. In fact, Gen Zers and millennials laugh at it. They barely even acknowledge Facebook's existence. And as a result, advertisers are taking their business elsewhere, and Meta's revenue is evaporating.
And I've got to say, as someone who's been marketing online for 15 to 20 years now, Facebook advertising is a sham. It's an absolute sham. It all looks very good. Oh, we can do this. We do this. We'll target them based on information we've got from their Facebook use for the last 10 years. But unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. People don't want to go shopping when they're on Facebook. Has anyone here ever bought anything off of Facebook? I doubt you'll want to admit it, but it's just not it's just not somewhere you buy something. And if you've got 10,000 followers and you're having conversations with 20 people a week, and they're like, "Oh, have you heard the latest album by, I don't know, the Glorioles?" No, never heard of them. And then you get an advert for the Glorioles. I mean, great. Great. We dropped out Facebook advertising years ago. It doesn't work. I don't know if I can get in trouble for saying that. Maybe it does for someone. I don't know. But it's fucking expensive. And I'll tell you this, and I'm gonna have a guess on this. I reckon, and I don't know this for a fact. I reckon the majority of Facebook advertising revenue comes from first timers buying the hype that Zuckerberg is very good at, putting loads of money in, putting their what do you call it? What's it called when I can't remember what it's called. But you basically say how much you're willing to pay for this and that, and if other people are higher than you, blah, blah, blah. And then after a month of doing it, you realise you're £1,500 down and you've taken 28 quid of revenue. And then you're like, yeah, let's fuck off Facebook advertising. I reckon the majority of Facebook advertising comes from that kind of business, like one-off, startups, SMEs giving it a go and just going, this hasn't converted. Compared to Google Shopping, it's ridiculous. Google Shopping just works. Google Shopping just generates revenue. Amazon, get hold of something like Jungle Scout, get on Amazon, generate revenue. Facebook advertising, where's all the money gone? I don't know, but people are being sold shit they don't want because they don't even buy it. Yeah, it's ridiculous. So good luck. Bye Meta. Now, next one. I was talking to Lulu the other day. I talked about it because she's wanting to build up a savings account for her kids. And that's what a lot of people want to do. And, it's a sin that banks encourage people to do this. Because if you I'll keep this very short because I already went through this the other day. You put £100 a month into a savings account for 18 years. And when your kid's 18, you're going to give them that big lump sum with that 0.1% APR. That's going to be worth less than if you kept it under your bed, or about 200 quid more. You know, it does. The interest rates don't even cover inflation. It's ridiculous, right? And then I showed you, I got onto the compound interest calculator. We looked at NatWest's basic rate of interest, and I showed you that they will give you, for giving them, what was it, £500 a month it was, for 18 years, you're going to get 400 quid off of them. Comical. Now, when I was talking to Lulu, I said to her, I said, now at the moment, the stock market, the stocks are low. Like there's a few NASDAQs. One of the NASDAQs is so low, it's like a record low. And people have written to me. I know that 61 of you use FREETRADE because I got 61 free shares. You know, they say between £3 and £400. The highest I've got was worth about a tenner, and the rest of them are like £3. Although a couple of them have appreciated up to above 200. So I know that a few of you have also got that stock, unless you sold it, and you're now 200 up, which is handy. But the thing is, when the markets are this low, this is the time to buy. This is when millions are made, because you've got really high valued companies. You've got companies that are doing really well. I'm actually up on Palantir. I'm up on Palantir. I mean, that won't mean much to many of you, but me and Napalm bomb dropping JC are having a right crack, because I buy mainly indexes, but I have got a couple of, indexes are a collection of stocks. So rather than buying like Tesla or Apple or Palantir, you buy a collection like the FTSE 100, the top 100 performing UK companies, or the NASDAQ is the top 100 tech companies, whatever. You know, there's many indexes. And so you're spreading your bets, really. So if half of them fuck up and the other half are doing all right, you're going to be fine. And a few people who are free traders, who are on FREETRADE, and, you know, it is gambling. You can lose money as well. Don't ever borrow money to buy stocks. I've done it, but don't. It's all so low now. Seriously, if you can just be get a bit frugal. Don't have that second takeaway next week. Drink half as much beer. Buy half as much weed. And get money. I'm not a professional. This is for entertainment purposes only. But get on those indexes now. I'm not a trader. I don't know anything about stock trading. Nothing. I know nothing about stock trading. But I do know about long-term investing. Get on those indexes. If you want to email me, I'll give you a list of the usual suspects, which I did to Lulu. Get on them. Because in 10 to 15 years, that 100 quid a month you've been putting on is going to be worth millions. Or you'll probably need to put about 400 a month on. But I'm not joking. And if you're British, you've got a stocks and shares ISA. You're not going to pay any tax. Niggler's on the firm. Hello, mate. I'm telling you, man, now is a good time to buy. Let's have a little look at this video. Don't let his silly graphs and all that confuse you. Just listen to what he says. This video is called Stocks to Buy in October 2022. You don't need to listen too much to FREETRADE. Is it, Jays? Is that what you mean? I buy my stocks on FREETRADE. It's an app on your phone. The link to my FREETRADE is in the description. If you use my link, me and you get a free share. It doesn't go in your ISA, it goes in your general investment account, but it's free money, so why wouldn't you? Listen to what he says about buying in a low market, because it's important. Listen, I'm 50 and I'm in this, but if you're 20, I beg you, get a few quid every month into your stocks and shares ISA, because when you're 40 or even 30, you might have a couple of mil. if you take any 15-year period from the last 80 years, put it on and put £500 a month on the S&P, you'll have 3 million at the end of that 15 years. Any time. That includes that moment in the early 2000s where there were 2 stock market crashes. Because it's such a long period, you can cope with crashes, but you have to have temperament. You have to be able to not look at it, because you will see your money go down and you'll think, I'm losing all my money, because it goes down, but it goes down and up, and it goes down and up in an upwards direction. And it always has done. And here's the real kicker. If it doesn't recover, that means the West doesn't recover. That means that money that you would either have had in the bank or under your bed means nothing anyway. So it's kind of, you know, when that's the payoff. Now, the alternative is, of course, you could spend it. But I would suggest that the dollars and the pound are going to do pretty well for the next 30 years at least. So, you know, a 10 to 15-year long-term investment is something that I think. I'll tell you what. If I was 20 years old now, I'd get 3 crappy jobs. Crappy because I don't want the stress. I'd get something like a shelf stacker. I'd get something like a cleaner. You know, jobs where I've only got to do like 4 hours a day here. I've got plenty of time to myself. And I'd live with my mother. I'd pay her a little bit. You know, I wouldn't be draining her funds, but I wouldn't be wasting money on rent, because I know at 35, I'd be able to retire at 35, not with a few quid, with millions, with 3 million. Imagine being 20 years old now, knowing that you'd have 3 million tax-free. It's quite exciting, isn't it? I wish I'd have done that, but they don't tell working class people this. All those Eton boys, they'd have known this at 14. All those people that went to Radley would have been, you know, their parents would have had them on this the day they turned 16. Right, come on, here's your ISA, hurry up, bosh. And if the son said, I can't be bothered, they'd say, no worries, I'll do it in your name. You know, I'm talking to my mother about she won't move her money from her savings ISA into her stocks and shares. I said, well, maybe we can come to some arrangement where I give you the money to put in. I certainly wouldn't do that, though, because it's illegal and that won't be happening. Have a look at this fella. But listen, you'll see what I'm getting at. Yeah. This video was made like in the last couple of days. It's that relevant.
Looking to take advantage of extreme market volatility, like cheaper prices, higher yields, and greater long-term total return potential? Want to know my top 5 stocks for October 2022? Then you have to check out today's video.
He is a best-selling author.
This geezer retired when he was 33, if I remember rightly, because he'd done exactly what I've just told you about. I would not look into real estate. The best investment is to spread your bets. I'd say maybe 15% in real estate, but it just doesn't have it. It can be so volatile, it can drain all your funds. I'm not going for that. You talk to any investment expert, and they wouldn't agree with that. But you know, if that's what you want to do, go for it. Here's the problem, though, Lee. Here's the problem. With an average job, I can be a bit frugal and put £200 a month into an ISA. How do I buy a house with an average job? I've never had any credit. I haven't got a credit score because I've never borrowed any money. How do you get into real estate? Because if you're going to start at the bottom, where are you buying your property? In some shit old ghetto? You reckon that's going to go up in value? You know, if you've got the money, buy some shithole, renovate it, no worries, and then sell that, move on, do it again. But if you haven't got the money, it's a very hard one to get at the right part of the ladder. Whereas you can get involved in this lark with £100 a month.
30-year-old Jason Feber has a plan. This guy retired at only 33 years old.
I don't know if I know too many people that have accomplished something like that.
He's really kind of a guru when it comes to passive income.
Don't worry too much about what he says about dividends. So dividend stocks, I've got a couple. Dividend stocks is where the stocks you buy pay you a dividend. And that's tax-free on your ISA as well. But you know, it's unless you're putting a lot of money into these stocks, the dividends are quite small. Like I get a dividend occasionally sent to me from £FREETRADE, and it starts off and it's like 400 quid. I'm like, sweet. And then it goes minus this, minus that, £7.50. It's still £7.50 for doing nothing. But I don't know enough about dividend stocks. I also don't think. I think you need a little bit more money to make dividend stocks work. But what he says here is relevant nonetheless. But don't get too carried away with the dividend lark at this stage.
Before I get into today's content, if you want exclusive access to my personal six-figure stock portfolio and alerts on any new investments I make, check out the Patreon link in the description below. The S&P 500 is down 23%.
Right, listen to me. The S&P, Standard & Poor's 500, and when you go on FREETRADE, you'll find there's loads of things that say S&P, because what you get things like S&P trackers, you get things like S&P tech, S&P utilities. Now, the S&P is down 23% year to date. So from this time last year to date, it's down 23%. The S&P is usually up somewhere between 10 and 35%. Every year, it usually goes up about 10 to 30%, right? There's been a couple of years where it's gone down 5% or down 10%, but over like 15, 20-year period, majority of the time it goes up 20, 30. My S&P utilities, I've got one that's gone up 60%, right? So the S&P is down 23%. So if usually the S&P goes up about 20 or 30%, if you buy the S&P when it's down 23% and it goes up, let's say 20%, you've actually got a rise of 40%. So if that year you've been getting £100 in a month, that's £1,200, that's gone up 40 odd %, but compound as well. And then you just leave it. And then next year it goes up again, compound, because it's already gained, and again, and again, and again. And you'll hear him say that, but a little bit more articulately.
Year to date, as I shoot this video, but it's been anything but a straight line down. It's been a roller coaster. Except the stock market roller coaster isn't quite as fun as a real roller coaster. Or is it? If you have the proper temperament and if you maintain a long-term perspective, this kind of volatility is fantastic.
Sorry to interrupt, but Vincent, look, hello Pizzle. Look, Pizzle says if you save £100 a month, it's £1,200 a year. So guaranteed £1,200 after 10 years. Right. But inflation will mean that £12,000 in 10 years could be worth, in today's money, in future money, about 9,000. So you've actually lost 3,000. Do you understand? Because of inflation. You know, the value of money goes down. So you can be putting that £100 away and you've only got 12,000. If you put that £100 into index funds, you're talking millions. Millions. Especially if you're buying at these prices.
Why? Well, it allows you to...
Hang on, I can't. This is the bit I wanted you to hear, and I just spoke all over it. Yeah.
Real roller coaster. Or is it? If you have the proper temperament and if you maintain a long-term perspective, This kind of volatility is fantastic. Why? Well, it allows you to buy high quality dividend growth stocks for lower prices. All else equal, lower prices result in higher yields. That means more passive dividend income on the same invested dollar. As someone who lives off of dividend income, I can tell you that every dividend dollar counts. Look, lower prices and lower valuations serve you in every way possible.
And we have got at the moment lower prices, like ridiculously low prices. Like Palantir is so, it's ridiculous. Like I think it's about $8 a share, and lower prices and lower valuations. All these companies are, that ain't worth a lot, that ain't worth a lot. Wall Street's going mad, and so everything's really low. Buy now, long-term investment, bosh. When he says he's living off of dividend stocks, what he means is he's not selling anything. He's built up a portfolio over the last 15, 20 years where he's getting these dividends. Now, it might only be £100 per stock, but he might have 50 stocks paying in that £100 dividend. So is 50 times 100 stocks, what's that, $5,000 a month without spending anything, without investing anymore, without selling his stocks? He's just getting $5,000 in tax-free because of his ISA. Maybe. I don't know that for sure, but who cares? If it's free, you can fuck it. You can have the tax. $5,000 a month. And because I know the fella, I don't know him as a mate, because I know his channel, he's probably reaping in more like something like $60,000 a month, doing nothing. Doing nothing. He's a multi-millionaire. And he was, yeah, you get the idea.
Not just on the dividend income front either. You're also typically looking at greater long-term total return prospects. It's more for less. Seeing short-term volatility as a long-term opportunity is something that helped me to go from below broke at age 27 to financially free at 33.
He's not some weird anomaly, this bloke. There's thousands of people like him on YouTube. There's hundreds of thousands of people like him around the world. This isn't some new weird thing. The rich have been doing this for about a century now. You invest in indexes, regular amounts, forget about it. We're not traders. We're not trying to buy, sell. No, just leave it. And 15, 20 years later, it's up in the millions. And don't take my word for it. Go online. Go online, go on to YouTube and type in long-term index investments and listen to 20, 30, 40, 50 different people. Some of these people will show you their portfolios. You know, you might have to join their Patreon for like £2 a month or something, and they'll show you what they own. There's a great channel called Stealth. Well, I'll put the link to this bloke's channel in. There's a great channel called Stealth Wealth Investing. And it was him that told me about Palantir. And I'm going to tell you this now. I don't usually like buying individual stocks. I don't know enough about that game at all. I talked to JC about it. He's much like me. Sorry, JC, if you're watching. But I think that's fair. But everyone was saying that Palantir is undervalued. Everyone is saying that this is going to be a very high growth stock. Everyone's saying, oh, they're not earning much, are they? Well, businesses don't. Some businesses don't in their early years. Innocent Smoothies, Innocent Smoothies, worth a fortune at the moment, didn't make a penny for the first 10 years. But Palantir is like $8 a stock or something. Now, I've got I think I've got 300 of them. There are people who are saying in 10 years Palantir could be $2,000 a stock. 10 years. And so all I've got to do is sit on them. That's it. I just got a bit frugal. This was before the pound and the dollar went crazy and I lost all my money. Thanks. But, that I'm just going to forget about my Palantir. And occasionally I see a little thing. But I had a look the other day and it's in the green. I was like, well, here we go. And so that, let me work it out. Hang on. I was paying about, what was it? Okay. So there you go. According to my very rough calculations there, the £2,000 I invested over the whole of last year on Palantir could be worth easily, this isn't, it needs to go crazy, easily could be worth over $1 million in 10 years. The bloke on Stealth Wealth Investing spent £2,000 on Apple stocks in early 2000s. And he shows you, and you can look at the charts, they're worth, that $2,000 he spent is worth about 1.6 million now. Rich people have been doing this for a long time. The point I'm trying to make is this isn't just some new, oh, look what the influencers are saying, you can get rich quick. No, you can't get rich quick, but you can get rich in 15 to 20 years. And for me, I'm 50 years old. What am I going to do at 65? Not a lot. But if I do have children, they're going to be all right. If I don't have children, my missus is going to be all right. You know, every time I look at it, I just think about her, because when I pop my clogs, you know, one of the things I don't want is to be on my deathbed looking at my missus and thinking, shit, what's she going to do? How's she going to pay her rent? And especially if I've got children. Look, imagine that. Imagine looking at your kids. You know, it's all, I've got a business. I mean, it's fucking struggling because of the fucking UK government and their stupid tax. Oh, don't get me started on that. But I don't want to look at my children and think I'm about to die and they're fucked. What are they going to do? What is my 40-year-old by then girlfriend going to go whoring? But what I think I can now do, because of the last few years of this investing, and I haven't got a lot of money, people, but I've only got you know, when I get the odd 40 quid, I put it in a stock. You know, when I don't buy that thing I was going to buy that's quite expensive, I chuck it on a stock. And it's only a question of getting on your free trade, sending it from your bank, buy, jobs are good. And that makes me feel good. It makes me feel good that Shelby looked after. Anyone want more information, just email me. Again, I'm not a professional. There are people who know a lot more about this online. You can lose money as well. That I have to say all that, or I don't want to get sued or anything. It is gambling, but the odds historically have been so much in the favor of the index purchaser. Right, next little clip. Tucker Carlson interviewed Kanye West. I think he's changed his name to Ki. I don't quite know what it is. RP, I invested my life into building a future for kids, and they've given it all away to, yep. What's the point anymore? Not quite sure what you're saying there, Raymond, but I also sort of do. I don't know the details of what you're saying. So, I mean, I'll tell you this. Nice one, Raymond, for that donation. I'll tell you this. People in the UK who think you've got a pension coming, I'm not so sure about that. I mean, I've been paying national insurance and fucking God knows what, and PAYE, all my staff that do PAYE, and they all think they've got a pension coming. I don't think that money's going to be there. And that's not the first time. That won't be the first time that's happened. I mean, you can't have welfare, which pensions are, and open borders, which the UK has. And I mean, the dilution of those, you know, they spend that money on stocks. They do, you know, it don't just sit in the bank. However, I wouldn't be too sure that people are going to be able to get those. Like when my father died, my mother got a widow's pension, right? And like, fuck, she needed it. And she went out to work, bless her, a few years later, because she, you know, she's like that. She's got a good work ethic. She hadn't worked for 20 years. She raised, 16 years. She raised 2 kids. But she went to work so that me and my brother could go through university. And, you know, oh, bless her. But she was talking to a friend of hers whose husband died, and she said to her, because this woman was complaining about all this nonsense tax stuff, and my mum said to her, "Yeah, what about your widow's pension?" And she said to her, "No, you only get that for a year now." Did anyone? I mean, mate, I think I've got that right, and I'm only going on what my mum said, so I could be wrong. But what my mum, that used to be a thing. If your husband died, you got a widow's pension so that you could eat. And my mother worked all her life until she had kids, never broken the law, always paid her taxes, never borrowed any money, owns her house. My mother put £3 deposit on her house, £3. Different times they were when you could buy a house, £3. But apparently widows' pensions is just like a year now. After that, no, you're on job seekers allowance. Yeah, but hang on, I'm 50. I've been raising a family. What am I going to do for a fucking job? Well, you're not actually. So, but you still got to go down the job centre and fill in all their fucking humiliating forms. You still got to go for the interviews, and you never know. You might get a job wiping asses at the local mental hospital. Fucking joke. I'm not. I am very dubious as to whether these pensions everyone's been paying money into are necessarily going to be there. I don't mean... Hello, Custard. Nice to see you, mate. Hello, Ludwig. Mouse Cat. Nice one on that lady. How do you keep paper records, printouts of your free trade stocks, Chris? I don't, because I don't need to, but I'm sure you can. I'm sure you can print out statements. Let's have a look. I mean, they email me dividends. Like I say, they're only like... I think the biggest dividend I got was £15. But let's have a quick look. There must be some way of doing it, because you obviously need to. But you don't pay tax on them, do you? But you do on your general investment account. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. This is that green line. A couple of months ago, I remember saying to Skin and Tonic, I think it was Skin and Tonic, it was a green wave. Not so much today. God, man, they're all so cheap. Look at that, though. S&P Utilities is up. Year to date, 24%. I mean, look at that. Anyway, that's not what you asked. So, hang on. What was the question? Mouse Cat, I'll have a look, mate. I mean, it's a bit silly me doing that now. It kind of dries the stream, but I'll have a look and I'll ping you an email. But I'm sure you can. I mean, if you need to, because you need to declare earnings or whatever, then you'll be able to do it. Because if you can't, that's ridiculous. Do you know what I mean? There'll be a way. I just haven't needed to, because my general investment account is next to nothing. It's all in the ISA. Yeah, there you go, Truth Seeker. I'm not so convinced. I mean, it'll still be there, but it'll be like a £5. That way they can say, oh, well, it's still there. Oh, we haven't got rid of the pensions. What? We just haven't got the money. Come on, walk all the way down into town, sign on, here's your £4.50. See you next year. No, it's a fucking joke, man. It might have been Zeitgeist I was talking to, sorry. Who was it who said we both had a green wave? It was either Zeitgeist or Skin and Tonic. I don't know why I get them two mixed up. I don't get you mixed up as people, but as avatars. I don't know why. Right, so Kanye West. Let's not forget how based Kanye is when he had that chat with Trump at the absolute height of hang on, let me just get rid of these cunts. I don't want Rags having to do it. There you go, they're gone. At the height of Orange Man Bad, Kanye West has a chat with Trump. Kanye West done a gig with a Trump hat on. Amazing. Amazing. Kanye West has just absolutely smashed the ball out of the park. I'm going to take it back a bit. This is part of the interview he done with Tucker. There you go. It was a sea of green. I mean, now it's a sea of green and red, but it was. But this is when it's red. This is what I don't know whether you saw, Skin. I was just talking about it. This is when you need to be buying, man. Have a look at a little bit of the chat, and if you haven't seen this, prepare to go whoa, because Kanye is like a god to African Americans and to a lot of libtards because it's Kanye West. He went out. He was married to Pneumatic Kardashian. Check out. You'll know the bit I'm talking about when they get there.
Don't believe in God. God believes in you.
Hang on, I just need to point out, because of what Kanye's done and because of this interview, and you'll see, you'll know straight away. Don't worry, you'll go whoa if you don't know. Because of that, BuzzFeed, Salon, Vox, Twitter, the Twitter sphere, they're all saying Kanye West has gone mad. No, they can't call him a racist. They can't call him a homophobe, because most of his best friends are gay. They can't call him this. They can't call him that. When you've lost all the isms, when you've lost all the ists, oh, he's mental. No, he's lost his mind. He's balmy. No. Nice one, Rags. Don't forget I'm a writer, people. Substack, top link in the description. It's totally free. It's wicked as well. There's 2 samples of my novel that's definitely coming out this November. I promise you. I'm taking 2 weeks off work. I'm going to Thailand for a couple of days. Donations depending. And I'm going to take my computer and I'm going to get that novel finished. It's actually written. I'm just doing another read through because I'm terrified. They're saying he's mad. Honestly, this is what they're going for. And you know what it's like. All the media get together. What are we going to do? What are we going to do about this fucker? Say he's mad, yeah? Mad, he's mad, right? This will be on cable telly, all those local news channels. Kanye West has lost his mind. Kanye West has lost his mind. Have you seen Kanye West? He's lost his mind. Kanye West has finally lost it. Kanye West is insane. Well, no, he ain't. It's a very eloquent and really quite touching interview he has with Tucker here. Check out this bit.
So you made reference to the White Lives Matter T-shirt, which you brought out at Paris Fashion Week.
Yeah.
Why did you do that, and what did it mean?
I do certain things from a feeling. I just channel the energy. It just feels right.
Look, that's Kanye West on the right. Look with his bird. He turned up at Paris Fashion Week. He's released a hoodie and a t-shirt with White Lives Matter on it. It's fucking amazing. I mean, talk about liberal tears. What are they? Wow. It's so good. It's so good. Fuck you all. Fuck you all. They are so... And listen to him in the interview. He's just articulate. He talks about God. He talks a lot about his father. Oh, it's amazing. I think that's Candace Owens. Him and her get on like an house on fire. She's not great, but she's also not that bad. I think she hits the nail on the head sometimes. Here we go.
It's using a gut instinct, a connection.
Sorry, people, my mouse is playing up a little bit, so when it all goes quiet and stops, I'm desperately trying to. I'm sort of. But wait till he says, when you hear the conversation he has with his dad, it's just great. It's just great. Hopefully, it won't get yeeted.
With God and just brilliance, as if you ask,
I don't think Candice looks like Big Mike. I would absolutely tap Candice Owens. No, I'm sorry about that. Not a problem.
Tanya Harding, how she did the triple flip or the triple spin. She was in so much practice that when it was time for her to skate in a competitive format, it just happened. Like it happened outside of practice. It happened in the real format, and that's what's happening.
Hang on, let me try and get it on. I'd love you to hear all this, but I'll get yeeted because although it's Tucker, it's still Fox, and they're not very nice. Yeah, I'm with you, Ludwig. I would, yeah, not a problem.
This whole like, oh yeah, he's crazy, and all these things, they don't work because the media has, you know, they've also watched travesties happen, just even specifically to me, and just watch it and act like it wasn't happening, and they stay quiet about it.
What have they?
I want to answer the white.
Yeah.
I feel like someone caught what I was saying, the comparison to Tanya Hardin about the White Lives Matter. You know, my dad is an educated
this is wicked.
ex-Black Panther, and he put a text to me today. He said, "White Lives Matter."
Sorry, I spoke over it. He said, my dad is a very well-educated ex-Black Panther. Sorry, that's kind of relevant.
Black Panther, and he put a text to me today. He said, "White Lives Matter, ha, 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 ha." And I said, I thought the shirt was a funny shirt. I thought the idea of me wearing it was funny. And I said, "Dad, why do you think it was funny?" He said, just a Black man stating the obvious.
Boom! And liberals everywhere. Yeah. No, I've got absolutely no complaints there whatsoever. Nothing. Amazing. And then Kanye then goes on to say that. He says, and that's what it is. He says it's just, you know. And then you should watch it because he absolutely understands how the media works. And he says, you know, when you step, these aren't his words. He does, you know, he does go around the houses a bit, does Kanye. But he basically says, you know, when a Black man doesn't toe the party line, he's mad. He's insane. Wonderful. Just wonderful. Because they how do they fight back? How do they argue that? No, because you said white lives matter. What, they don't? What, they don't? Oh. I love it. And this is what I'm saying. It's all moving to the right. You know, that is part of it. Yeah, his old man was in the Black Panthers. The Black Panther, don't worry about the Black Panthers. Malcolm X, Black Panther, quite high up in the Black Panthers. He said one of his most famous quotes was that the biggest threat to Black America is white liberals. and he's absolutely right. Now, I tried to summarize the last stream but one with some David Foster Wallace. And I'm going to play you a long clip here. David Foster Wallace, one of my favorite writers. Bless the person who read one of my stories and said it reminds me of David Foster Wallace, because that just, you know, as a failed writer, I'll take whatever crumbs I can get. And man, that kept me going for weeks. He killed himself, David Foster Wallace. But Infinite Jest, which is his big work, we talked about it the other day. It's all about entertainment and addiction to entertainment. You know, the idea that boredom is almost prohibited, you know, and the idea that, you know, I talked to Will Self about this, and Will Self done a lecture on it about solitude and writing. Like, I'll write tonight. It's 2:00 in the morning now. I won't start till about 4:00 because I need that 2 hours doing nothing beforehand. But I also started thinking about, it's not only solitude, not only, like when I go to Thailand to finish this novel, I will be going out and that, but I'll spend 2 or 3 days walking around on my own just to get into that state of mind to write, to be able to sit down and write. The first, because I'm editing, it's not the same, but if I was just writing something new, The first sort of 2,000 words get thrown in the bin because I also need to get into my voice. But David Foster Wallace here also talks about the solitude of a reader. The idea, you know, the corporations don't want you reading. One, because it educates you really well. The codex is still probably the best way of learning, because a man or a woman who's lived their whole life has sat down for a couple of years and articulated everything they can think about that life into a book, and you can consume that in a couple of days. That's incredible. So they don't want you reading because it educates you. Two, they don't want you reading because when you're reading, you're not consuming, you're not producing, you're not helping them out, you're not a puppet in the consumption and production game. You're just reading. So they almost, like I've said, and I've said it in some of my short stories, you know, boredom is almost prohibited. Doing nothing is almost forbidden. And then they get it in, they've certainly got it into young people's minds, the whole FOMO thing, fear of missing out. You know, can you turn that computer off for 20 minutes? No, I can't. You know, and the idea of actually going into a room with no computer, turn your phone off, pick up a book, and that silence is almost deafening, isn't it? Because they want you in that matrix. They want you plugged in. They want your data. They want your information. They want your money. And so they've made it so that you're addicted to the whole thing, the likes, the hits, the friends, the numbers. You know, this is all, the research is done on this. The people that own all the big platforms don't let their kids go on them. They know what these things do. They pay people millions of pounds to make people stuck on these things. So this is a long clip. Not that long, but look, it's weird that I'm even apologizing. I reckon I'll lose 10, 15 viewers playing this. But this bloke was on it. This bloke understood modern culture, as far as I'm concerned, better than anyone. An Infinite Jest, the book, just got it. It just got it right. So this is what I was looking for the other day that I couldn't find. So if you can manage 4 minutes, that sounded a bit condescending. It wasn't meant to be, but listen to what he says, because not only is he talking about everything I just talked about, but he's also talking about the things we've been talking about for years, like the value of family, the value of friendships, the value of community, the value of unplugging yourself from the fucking machine, from the globalist machine. And it's just sublime the way he talks about it. So this is one of my heroes, to be honest with you, David Foster Wallace. Here we go. And it's from the same interview I showed you a bit from the other day.
This is one enormous engine and temple of self-gratification and self-advancement, and in some ways it works very, very well. In other ways, it doesn't work all that well, because at least for me, it seems as if there are whole other parts of me that need to worry about things larger than me that don't get nourished in that system. There's a streak of moralism in American life that extols the virtues of being grown up and having a family and being a responsible citizen. But there's also the sense of do what you want, gratify your appetites, because when I'm a corporation, appealing to the parts of you that are selfish and self-centered and want to have fun all the time is the best way to sell you things, right? So, I mean, there's a difference, though, I think, between being mildly bored, but then there's another kind of boredom that I think you're talking about, which is reading. Reading requires sitting alone by yourself in a quiet room. And I have friends, intelligent friends, who don't like to read because it's not just bored. There's an almost dread that comes up, I think, here, about having to be alone and having to be quiet. And you see that when you walk in when you walk into most public spaces in America, it isn't quiet anymore. They pipe music through, and the music's easy to make fun of because it's usually really horrible music. But it seems significant that we don't want things to be quiet ever anymore. And to me, I don't know that I could defend it, but that seems to me to have something to do with when you feel like the purpose of your life is to gratify yourself and get things for yourself and go all the time. There's this other part of you that's the same part that can kind of is almost hungry for silence and quiet and thinking really hard about the same thing for maybe half an hour instead of 30 seconds, that doesn't get fed at all. And it makes itself felt in the body in a kind of dread in here. And I don't know whether that makes a whole lot of sense, but I think it's true that here in the US, every year the culture gets more and more hostile. And I don't mean hostile like angry, just it becomes more and more difficult to ask people to read or to look at a piece of art for an hour. Like, the thing that I like about doing this kind of stuff is that I'm pretty sure my readers are about as smart as I am. You know, I think if you're somebody like Crichton or, you know, somebody who's like a Harvard MD, but you're writing for a mass audience, things get very strange. I don't worry that people who are reading my stuff are misunderstanding it or banalizing it any more than it's already banal. I know that there is, at least in America, an entire class of, and now I'm talking about a very specific class here. I'm talking about upper and upper middle class kids whose parents could afford to send them to very good schools where they got very good educations, who are often working in jobs that are financially rewarding, but don't have anything to do with what they got taught, persuasively taught, was important and worthwhile. The fact that we now have clear evidence that the way we live and the relationships we have with various other countries are causing some people to hate us so much that they want to kill us, and may succeed in killing a great many of us, frightens me only because it seems to me now that the country's reaction to feeling frightened and insecure is to buy sports utility vehicles that are large and massive and tank-like and make individual people feel safer, but also get 4 miles to the gallon in a country where gasoline is probably 1/5 as expensive as it ought to be. There's a sanity in Europe about gasoline prices and fuel consumption that there isn't here yet, and yet are voting for people who are deciding to go over and very possibly kill hundreds of thousands of civilians in order to kill a few enemies, and none of which is important. But the fact that no one here is talking about the connection between how we live and what we drive, and the things that are happening, the speed with which it's become those bad people, those bad fanatics, they're evil. What they really hate is our freedom and our way of life, which is just hard to swallow, right? Like, who hates freedom? You know, people hate people, not freedom. I now don't know what's going to happen. And I am, as an American, as scared, not since I was a little boy and I worried about the US and the Soviet Union having an intercontinental, not since that have I been this scared. And this is totally personally, but I'm more scared of us than I am of anybody else. And that's a bleak place to be.
Sorry, that was in 2001. Nice one, Vincent. Ego, danger, grift. I also got an entropy from Matt saying, until the new boss figures out how to approve my OT, these will be rare. Well done, son. Thank you very much, Matt, and thank you, Vincent. I'm going to give you a link to Consider the Lobster. Right, it's a piece of writing read by, he wrote it. It's a piece of writing about the Maine, M-A-I-N-E. It's a place in America, I think, Canada maybe. It's called Consider the Lobster, and it's a piece about the Maine Lobster Festival, which I think is of no interest, but fuck me, it's an incredible piece of writing, and you'll see how he talks about our culture at the moment. And I think that was incredibly prescient in 2001 to be talking about gas prices, to be talking about people in foreign countries dying by the million. And I mean, good Lord, you know, here is Consider the Lobster. I've just put the link in the chat. It's 50 minutes long. He's reading it, which is a real treat. And honestly, if you can get, I beg you, you can always stop if it's not your cup of tea, but I beg you to, excuse me, I beg you to give it a go. It will blow your mind. It's incredible, that piece. Well, everything he wrote was excellent. I remember sending some of David Foster Wallace's stuff to Natty. There's a book called Interviews with Hideous Men. And it probably wasn't the best one to start with. You know, Natty, I called him Natalie, that's the joke. And he come back to me, what the fuck have you sent me? So there you go. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. Check out that Consider the Lobster. It's a good gateway drug to the rest of David Foster Wallace. Did anyone check out the end of the tour or the last days of the tour? I forget what it's called. I showed you the trailer for it the other day. A few people said they racked it up. That's a great movie. Old Seagal absolutely nails David Foster Wallace. It saddens me. Today's thumbnail was something else, wasn't it? Good gosh. Let's have another look at it. Just because we can. Have a look at this. I mean, it's a new take on an old idea. Good God, what would we do without women? I mean, they're a bit on the skinny side for me, to be fair, but I wouldn't say no. That's ridiculous. Look at me giggling there. Imagine coming home. Hi, Chris. Well, hi. Hello. But women, what beautiful things. And I don't just mean models. You know, I have had my fair share of models, but just women. And you know, I'm a bloke, so that's why I'm saying that. But women must feel like that about men, right? Women look at men and think, fucking hell, I wouldn't mind a bit of that. What an incredible thing. I think I said it the other, again, this has come up in my passion and romance script. I'm trying to script a video. I've only ever scripted 2 before. And just the, you know, when I look back over my life, it's the romances with women that have made it worthwhile. It really, you know, that. And I'm not talking about the sex. Sex is largely overrated, I think, to be honest with you. I mean, it's great and that, but it's just a fuck. It means more in your 20s because you've got more hormones. You seek more relief, but it's that getting to know someone and that moment when you realize they like you and you realize you like them and that gorgeous moment where you can't keep it in anymore. And the woman can't keep it in. She's been playing it really cool, but then she gives you that, there's that glint in her eye and she flutters her eyelashes and you think, fucking hell, this is all right. And you're like, it's just wonderful. And then you have a walk down the beach and then a couple of gin and tonics. Fucking hell, man. Yeah. What a Apologies, people. Can you let me know I'm back? Am I back? Can you see me? Can you see me? Do you know I'm here or not? What's happening? Hello there, people. I should be back. I'm back. Why is it getting light outside? Is my clock wrong? Thank you very much, people. Lil Bullet, I'm not going to be playing Seagal simply because it's almost certainly copyrighted and it might cause the stream not to be watchable. Don't forget, if you're not signed up to my Substack, help us out. It makes me feel good. And if you make me feel good, that's good. We've had loads of new subscriptions recently, which is bizarre for this channel. So the standalone videos are doing well. That's good. If you haven't seen the latest Dragon's Den reaction video, that's on YouTube. Oi, check out this. You know the one that my mate was in that got blocked in all countries, and it's on Odyssey, and only about 100 people have watched it. I get it. It's all right. That's been put on the Dragon's Den official channel. That one. I wonder if they'll remove my copyright now. I might try and upload it again. Anyway, that's the end, people. I'm absolutely shafted. I've got to get some writing done. I've got a novel to finish before middle of November. And I'm going to... hello, Liam. You just turned up, mate. I've been going for 3 hours, for Christ's sake. I want to thank everyone who donated. I especially want to thank my man Rags, who was modding on his own today, and he seemed a bit pissed off on the phone, and he did have a lot of work to do, and I know he enjoys the show, and he didn't want to be doing that. So sorry, Rags, and thanks for that. I don't like giving out loads of mods because it can cause problems later down the line, and usually 2 is enough. But today it was just 1. Thank you, Mousecat. Chris, what would you consider as a normal amount of sexual encounters in relationships before being married? I'd question normal in, what's normal? I don't know. I don't know why I don't know why it would matter. Would be my question. I mean, I was watching the Lotus Eaters earlier, and they were talking. They had Piers Morgan and what's his name, the geezer who's been cancelled off of everything. I can't remember his name. Andrew Tate. Morgan's such a twit in that interview, and Sargon was talking about women who haven't had a lot of sex are valued higher than women who haven't had a lot of sex. And I don't necessarily agree with that. I know that a lot of men quite like trash. I know a lot of men that quite like sex workers as well, and me being one of them. I have never got with a woman and had any concern or interest. That's probably the more important word. No interest in her previous sex life. As long as she's not riddled with diseases, I don't care. Life is life, and people have sex. It's quite normal. So I think a normal amount, Mousecat, is what you've had. That would be my answer. Whatever you've had. I'm guessing that probably doesn't answer your question, but that, if you've had sex once before you got into a relationship, well, that's your normal. If you've had sex 100 times before you got into a relationship, that's your normal. Neither makes you better or worse or anything. It's like saying, how many times have you been to watch ice hockey before you got in a relationship? I don't know. That would be my answer. I don't know if that helps, but there you go. Rags is asking for Get It Out. I've got a tune racked up. It's something different. So I'm gonna choose today. I played Get It Out yesterday, Rags. Thanks to all of you lot. Thanks to everyone who donated. Special thanks to Rags. Mousecat, thank you, mate. It was just me pondering my own existence and times as a younger man. It was 19 relationships, by the way. That's all right. There you go. And you found someone that you loved, and you've built an amazing, you know, the amount of time you and Mrs. Meehan have been together, and on a Saturday afternoon having a few drinks and singing karaoke together, you've won. You've won. You know, there's sacrifices that you make by being in a relationship as well, but there's sacrifices you make not being in them. And to be able to do that and to enjoy it, you know, you've done a lot of things right, my son, without a doubt. 42 says, I don't understand the fixation about people's past. There is no future in it. And absolutely correct, as well as your very clever wordplay. But right, you know, I've only just realised that, but I've never got with a girl, and I've never asked. Girls always ask me, and I say, well, if you really want to know, you might want to sit down. But I've never asked the bird, how many times you had sex? How many relationships you had? Don't care. Because then you give them power. I've had girls say to me, I've mentioned an ex-girlfriend, and how long were you with her for? And they all hate Gail. They all hate Gail because Gail's fucking very easy on the eye. And they're not too happy about the Vietnamese bird with the massive kahunas because she was very easy on the eye as well. But yeah, Gail, I was with Gail for 11 years, and yeah, they don't like that. And she works with me, so I talk to her daily. She's great stuff, Gail. Anyway, people, I've got to do some writing now. I've really enjoyed this stream. Please go and check out David Foster Wallace. Try Consider the Lobster. It's him reading it, and you'll get a kind of understanding of a different kind of literature, because it's about a fucking lobster festival. But what he actually says about where we live and the culture we inhabit off of the back of that story is remarkable. And I tell you, you'll come out of that knowing a hell of a lot more about the world than before you listen to it. Bless you all, people. Lots of love. I'll see you tomorrow. I'm going to try and get a video out tomorrow as well. Ta-ta. Go on, there it is. Yee-haw.
All the world of
Vincent is pronounced Arsenal.
the lover, all the girls in every land are meant to know. The joy of loving is to live in the world of mankind. There's someone who's waiting for you. Soon the world will be yours for a time. Music starts to play, night will turn to day. Darkness disappears when the one you love is near. You're in man. All the world loves the lover, all the girls in every land are meant to know. Joy of loving is to live
Stop coming
in the world of man.
If you're out there, Nona, say hello.
There's a place that is waiting for you. A world where the best in life is free. Where time is always spring. Happiness is king. The dreams you dream come true. When the one you love loves you. You're in man.
Enjoy the rest of your weekend, you glorious house of scrubs. It's still Saturday afternoon for you lovely bastards. Rapidly plunging into Sunday morning. But I'll still get a couple of hours on the old And 42 streaming at 11:30 with coffee. There you go. That's wicked.
All the world loves a lover.
Yes,
all the
man.
girls in every land on man to know. Joy of loving is to live in the world of mankind.
Cheers, Repo. What a lovely parting shot that one comment was. And there you go. Now go on, piss off down your own end, or I'll give you a clip around the ear. Hoita!